Imagine living a life where pain doesn't scare you anymore, where every challenge, every setback, every hard moment becomes fuel for your growth instead of something you try to escape. But tell me the truth. How many times have you avoided pain, avoided discomfort, hoping it would just disappear, only to feel weaker, more lost, and even more afraid the next time it shows up? The way you face pain defines who you become. If you confront it with courage, with wisdom, with the right mindset, you grow stronger, you build character, you gain peace, and you move forward. But if you keep running from it, hiding, complaining, avoiding the hard things, you stay stuck. You give away your power. You let life control you instead of taking control of your life. Today, you're going to learn 12 Stoic rules that will change the way you see pain forever. These are not just ideas. These are ancient tools tested by warriors, philosophers, and leaders for building real inner strength, for becoming unshakable. So get ready, because after this video, you won't fear pain, you'll welcome it. But before we start, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Write in the comments. Starting today, I stop running from pain. I face it. I am stoic. This is not just a sentence. It is a declaration, a command to your mind. The more you say it, the more you believe it. And the more you believe it, the more powerful you become. So write it now. Say it like you mean it. And let's begin. Number 1. Honor the signal. Pain is a map, not an enemy. Pain is not here to destroy you. It's not your enemy. It's a signal, an inner compass that points you towards something important. But most people run from pain. They numb it, avoid it, distract themselves, pretend it's not there. And in doing so, they miss the message. They stay stuck in the same cycles, over and over again, never healing, never growing. But you're not here to run. You're here to wake up, to face the truth, even when it hurts. You have to understand this. Pain always shows up for a reason. Whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, or even spiritual discomfort, it's trying to tell you something. Maybe it's a sign that you're out of alignment. Maybe it's showing you a place where your boundaries have been crossed. Maybe it's revealing something inside you that needs to heal. You can't fix what you refuse to feel. The Stoics knew this. They didn't believe in avoiding life's discomforts. They trained themselves to face reality head-on, to sit with pain and learn from it. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, didn't write about avoiding suffering. He wrote about using it, about letting it sharpen you, mold you, remind you of what matters. So the next time you feel that ache in your chest, that knot in your stomach, that restless energy that tells you something is off, don't silence it. Don't scroll past it, drink it away, or bury it under busyness. Sit with it. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to tell me? What is it pointing to? Is it showing me where I've betrayed myself? Is it revealing a lie I've been living? Is it calling me to make a change I've been avoiding? Pain is like a flashing light on your dashboard. You can ignore it, sure. You can cover it up with duct tape and pretend everything's fine. But eventually, the engine breaks down. Your mind breaks down. Your body breaks down. Your soul breaks down. Or you can open the hood. You can listen. You can treat the pain as a teacher. There's a reason soldiers, athletes, and warriors train in discomfort, because the pain they choose teaches them to endure the pain they don't. That's what Stoicism is about. Not becoming numb, but becoming stronger. Not avoiding pain, but understanding it. When you honor pain as a signal, you gain power. That heartbreak? Maybe it's showing you how much you need self-respect. That anxiety? Maybe it's pointing to a life you're not aligned with. That feeling of burnout? Maybe it's time to set boundaries, to say no, to stop betraying your time and your energy. But if you just react, if you just escape, you lose the lesson. And when you lose the lesson, the pain keeps repeating itself again and again, until you finally stop running and start listening. Make this your practice. Don't judge the pain. Don't label it as bad or unfair. Just observe it. Ask what it's here to teach you, and when it hurts, breathe. Don't panic. Don't flinch. Just breathe through it. Remind yourself, this pain has something to show me, and I'm strong enough to face it. Seneca, another great Stoic, said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And it's true. Most of the time, the pain itself isn't what crushes us. It's the fear, the stories, the resistance. We think we can't handle it, so we don't even try. But you can handle it. You're stronger than you think. Pain is proof of life. It means you're still in the fight. You're still growing. You're still becoming. So the next time you feel broken, ask yourself, what if I'm not broken? What if this pain is just breaking off the parts of me that no longer serve me? Don't run. Don't numb. Don't pretend you're fine when you're not. Instead, honor the signal. Use it as a map. Let it guide you back to yourself. Because on the other side of pain, if you face it, if you stay with it, is clarity, is growth, is peace. And you're not here to live in fear. You're here to build strength, real strength, stoic strength. So next time pain knocks at your door, don't hide. Open it, welcome it in, sit with it like an old teacher, and listen. Number 2, witness without flinching. Build the muscle of presence. Strength doesn't always look like lifting heavy weights or standing tall in front of others. Sometimes, real strength is invisible, quiet, internal. It's the ability to stay still when everything inside you wants to run. It's the power to feel pain, not escape it, to witness it without flinching. Most people don't know how to do this. They feel discomfort and immediately reach for something to take it away. A screen, a drink, a distraction. Anything to stop feeling what's real. But here's the truth. If you can't sit with your pain, you can't grow from it. The Stoics believed that presence, the ability to stay fully aware in the moment, is a form of power. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, be present in all you do, because presence is what allows you to see clearly. And clarity is the foundation of strength, but presence is not automatic. You have to train it like a muscle. And that training happens most when you're in pain, when your heart aches, when your chest feels heavy, when you're tempted to check out, to go numb, to mentally escape. That's your moment of truth. Ask yourself, can I stay? Can I sit with what I'm feeling, without judgment, without distraction, without trying to fix or escape it? It won't be easy. Your mind will resist. It will tell you to turn away. It will beg for comfort. It will look for the exit. But if you want to become unshakable, this is where it starts. Right here, in the discomfort, in the silence, in the stillness. Presence is not passive. It's an act of courage. You're saying, I will not abandon myself. I will not leave this moment, no matter how hard it gets. Try it the next time you're hurting. Don't open your phone. Don't distract yourself. Don't explain it away. Just sit with it. Feel it fully. Let the wave rise and fall without trying to control it. Breathe through it. It may feel unbearable at first, but it's not. You just haven't trained this muscle yet. The more you practice, the stronger you get. Eventually, you'll begin to notice something incredible. The pain starts to lose its grip. Not because it disappears, but because you stop fearing it. You stop running. You stop giving it more power than it deserves. This is presence. This is Stoic stillness. Not frozen, but grounded, fully here, fully aware. And here's the truth. When you can stay present with pain, you can stay present with anything. Stress, loss, fear, conflict. Nothing will throw you off your center. Because you've built something stronger than comfort. You've built capacity. You've learned to be the mountain in the storm. Epictetus said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." And when you're not present, your opinions run wild. Your mind creates stories, worst-case scenarios, fear-driven lies. But when you return to the moment, when you just witness without flinching, those stories lose their power. You realize the pain is real, but it's not permanent. It's intense, but it's not infinite. And you are bigger than it. So many people spend their lives avoiding presence. They stay busy. They keep moving. They never stop to feel what's really going on inside. And because of that, they never truly heal, never truly change. They live on the surface, afraid to go deeper. Don't be like them. Be the one who's not afraid to stop, to look inward, to face the pain directly. No filters, no masks, no excuses. It's not weakness to feel deeply. It's not weakness to sit in silence and let the tears fall. The weak run. The strong stay. You build real strength when you choose presence over escape. And the more you do this, the more peace you'll find. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You build trust in yourself. You know that no matter what comes, you won't abandon the moment. You won't abandon you. So the next time it hurts, remember this. Don't flinch. Don't flee. Witness it. Sit in it. Feel every inch of it. And say to yourself, I'm still here. I'm not running. I'm strong enough to stay. Because you are. Number 3. Turn agony into agency. Translate suffering into decisions. Pain can feel overwhelming, like a wave that crashes over you and pulls you under. In those moments, it's easy to believe that you have no control, that you're helpless, that life is just happening to you and there's nothing you can do about it. But that's not the truth. Even in your deepest suffering, you have power. Maybe not to change what happened, maybe not to erase the pain instantly, but you always have a choice. You always have the ability to respond, and that response, that tiny decision, is where your strength is born. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They never promised a life without pain. In fact, they accepted pain as part of life. But they also believed this: pain is not what breaks you. Your reaction to pain is what defines you. You might not choose the storm, but you can choose how you walk through it. Ask yourself, right now, what am I choosing in this moment of pain? Am I choosing to give up, to complain, to fall into despair? Or am I choosing, even in the smallest way, to move forward, to stay grounded, to think clearly? Because there's always something you can choose. You can choose your mindset. You can choose your breath. You can choose to stand up, to speak up, to take a step, no matter how small. That step is agency, and agency is your way out of agony. You don't need to fix everything all at once. That's not the point. Sometimes the only decision you can make is, I will not collapse today. Sometimes the only power you have is to say, I will not let this pain turn me bitter. That's still power. That's still a victory. Too many people wait for the pain to end before they act. They think, once I feel better, then I'll move. But that's not how strength is built. Real strength is built when you move through the pain, when you act while it still hurts, when you decide to rise, even when the weight feels unbearable. Think about a time in your life when you felt powerless, truly broken. Maybe it was heartbreak, or betrayal, or a deep loss. In that moment, what saved you? It wasn't the pain disappearing. It was you making one decision, one small action that reminded you, I'm not done yet. Maybe it was getting out of bed. Maybe it was showing up to work. Maybe it was reaching out for help instead of isolating yourself. These small moves matter. These are the moments where character is built. Suffering doesn't strip away your power, it reveals it. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while losing children, battling illness and fighting endless wars. But he never used his pain as an excuse to stop leading, to stop thinking clearly, to stop being just. Why? Because he knew, even in agony, you can choose how to live. He wrote to himself again and again, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Pain may knock you down, but it cannot take away your ability to choose how you respond. Even if everything feels dark, you can still choose to light one small candle. And when you do that, when you make a decision in the middle of your suffering, you take back your power. You stop being a victim. You stop being passive. You become active again. And that is agency. That is freedom. So here's your challenge. The next time pain hits, don't shut down. Don't fall into the trap of, there's nothing I can do. There's always something. You can breathe. You can think. You can move. You can speak truth. You can write down what you feel. You can hold yourself steady. That's how you take control, not by removing the pain, but by refusing to be ruled by it. Strength isn't found in the absence of pain. It's found in what you do while it hurts. So take the agony, take the chaos, take the heartbreak, and do something with it. Decide who you want to be in the middle of it. Make the smallest move forward, and repeat this to yourself. I still have a choice, and I will use it. That's where your strength begins. Number 4. Radical ownership of your inner world. Here's a hard truth most people avoid. Your mind is your responsibility. Your emotions, your thoughts, your reactions, they are yours, not the world's, not your past's, not anyone else's, yours. You can spend your life blaming others. You can point the finger at your parents, your boss, your partner, your childhood, or the unfair world. You can keep telling yourself, I feel this way because of them. But here's the problem. The more you blame, the more you give away your power. And the more power you give away, the weaker you become. The Stoics taught the opposite. They believed in radical ownership, the rare, powerful practice of taking full responsibility for your inner world, not because everything is your fault, but because your response is always your choice. You cannot always choose what happens around you, but you can always choose what happens within you. Let that sink in. If someone insults you, you can choose to feel offended, or you can choose to stay grounded. If life disappoints you, you can choose to spiral, or you can choose to learn. If you fail, you can choose to give up, or you can choose to adapt and grow. This kind of control doesn't come from the outside. It comes from discipline, from clarity, from a deep belief that you are responsible for your mind. Pain becomes unbearable when you believe it's being done to you. But the moment you take ownership of your inner world, pain stops being a punishment and starts becoming a platform, a place to grow, a place to train, a place to rise. Ask yourself honestly, what am I blaming right now? Who or what am I giving credit for how I feel? Is it someone who hurt me years ago? Is it the job I hate? Is it the economy, the government, the situation I'm in? And more importantly, what would happen if I stopped blaming and started owning? This shift is life-changing. It doesn't mean you accept injustice or pretend your pain isn't real. No, it means you decide, this pain belongs to me now, and I will use it. That's what ownership is. It's the moment you say, no more excuses, no more waiting for the world to fix me. I will take responsibility for how I feel, how I think, and how I move forward. It's not easy. It's much easier to stay in blame. Blame makes you feel right. Blame makes you feel safe. But blame also keeps you stuck, because you're waiting for something outside you to change before you get better. That's weakness. Radical ownership says, even if the outside world never changes, I will. Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by war, betrayal, illness, and loss. He didn't complain. He didn't ask, why me? Instead, he turned inward. He took full ownership of his thoughts. His peace didn't come from the world. It came from how he chose to think. You can do the same. When anger rises, own it. When fear shows up, own it. When sadness hits, don't run, own it. Say to yourself, this is mine, and if it's mine, I can work with it. I can study it. I can train through it. Because once you stop blaming, everything becomes a tool. Your triggers become teachers. Your sadness becomes fuel. Your fear becomes a map. And your pain becomes a platform, not to suffer on, but to stand on, to rise from. This is the path of the Stoic. This is the path of the strong. So from now on, stop waiting for the world to be perfect. Stop waiting for people to behave. Stop waiting for the pain to disappear before you take control of your mind. Take ownership now. Radical ownership. Full responsibility for your internal state. It will be hard. You will be tempted to fall back into blame. But remind yourself, blame is easy. Ownership is power. And power is what you're here for. So the next time the world shakes you, don't point fingers. Look inward, take a breath, stand tall, and say to yourself, no matter what happens out there, I control what happens in here. That's not just a mindset, that's mastery. Number 5. Don't just endure, extract. Anyone can survive pain. Anyone can clench their jaw, tighten their fists, and push through the storm. But here's the difference between the average person and the strong one. The average person endures pain. The strong one extracts from it. Enduring is not enough. Enduring keeps you in survival mode. It's about making it to the other side, but often without understanding what the pain was trying to teach you. Extraction is different. Extraction means you're not just getting through it, you're growing through it. You're mining the suffering. You're asking questions. You're finding the lesson, the meaning, the insight hidden beneath the hurt. That's what Stoics did. They didn't just sit quietly through pain and call it a day. They reflected. They journaled. They asked, what can this experience teach me about life, about myself, about what matters? Because pain, when used right, is not just something to get past. It's raw material. It's a message. It's a mirror. And when you face it with curiosity instead of just resistance, something incredible happens. The pain becomes useful. Imagine this. You go through heartbreak. You could say, that hurt. I survived. Or you could go deeper. You could extract the truth. You could ask, what patterns did I repeat? Where did I ignore the red flags? How can I love better next time, both myself and others? That's how suffering transforms you. But only if you're willing to do the work. Only if you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to show me? The Stoics believed everything could teach you something, especially pain. Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body, but only if you let them, only if you dig beneath the surface. You see, life is always offering you feedback. The question is, are you listening? Or are you so busy enduring that you miss the wisdom? Don't waste your suffering. If you're going to go through something hard, don't come out of it empty-handed. Don't let the pain pass without taking something from it. If it cost you tears, if it shook your soul, make it count. Write it down, study it, reflect on it. Ask the deeper questions. What did this reveal about my fears, my weaknesses, my values, my strength? And then use it. Turn that lesson into a new boundary, a new habit, a new mindset. That's how you turn pain into power. That's how you turn endurance into transformation. Because here's what no one tells you. Suffering without reflection only hardens you. But suffering with awareness softens and strengthens you at the same time. It humbles you. It sharpens your vision. It builds wisdom. You become someone who doesn't just survive the storm, you understand the storm. And that's rare. Most people walk away from their pain bitter, confused, or unchanged. But you're not just here to make it through. You're here to grow, to evolve, to rise. And to do that, you need to extract. Don't be afraid to revisit your pain, not to dwell in it, but to learn from it. Let the wound speak. Let the scar remind you, not of how you were broken, but of how you built yourself back. Ask yourself this, right now. What pain am I currently enduring, but not extracting from? What lesson am I avoiding? What wisdom is hiding beneath the discomfort? Write it down. Sit with it. Listen closely. Because pain doesn't just leave scars. It leaves clues. And if you're brave enough to dig, you'll find what most people miss. The gold buried in the ashes. So next time life hurts, don't just hold your breath and wait for it to be over. Go deeper. Be the one who doesn't waste suffering. Be the one who turns every wound into wisdom. Be the one who extracts. Number 6. Expose the lies pain tells you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body. It doesn't just weigh on your heart. It attacks your mind, quietly, slowly, like a whisper in the dark. And if you're not careful, if you don't stay alert, those whispers become beliefs, and those beliefs become your identity. Pain lies. It tells you you're alone. It tells you you're not enough. It tells you you'll never get through this. It tells you this is who you are now. But these are not truths. These are emotional illusions, distorted thoughts created when your mind is raw and exposed. Pain does this. It fogs your vision. It shakes your confidence. It makes you question everything, your worth, your strength, your future. And that's why it's not enough to just feel pain. You must learn to see through it. Because if you don't challenge those thoughts, they take root. And once they take root, they start to shape your life. You stop trying. You stop trusting. You stop believing. Not because life is over, but because pain convinced you that it was. You must expose the lie. You must speak truth to yourself louder than pain ever can. The Stoics taught that your perception is everything. What matters is not what happens. but how you interpret what happens. Pain may be real, but the story you tell yourself about that pain, that's where your power is. So when your pain tells you, "I am broken," pause. Question it. Is that true, or am I just in a season of healing? When it says, "No one understands me," ask yourself, is that a fact or just a feeling that will pass? When it screams, "I can't take this anymore," breathe and say, "I've made it through every other hard day. I can survive this one too." This is how you protect your identity. Because trauma doesn't just hurt, it tries to rewrite who you are. It tries to put its voice in your head and call it your own. But you are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not the worst thing that happened to you. You are the one who endures, the one who questions, the one who rises. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, faced betrayal, death, and despair. But he wrote to himself every morning, not because he was weak, but because he knew the mind must be trained. He reminded himself of what was true. He guarded his thinking from the lies that suffering tries to plant. You must do the same. When you're in pain, your inner world becomes loud and chaotic. It's easy to believe that your thoughts are facts, but pain is like a fog. It distorts, and in that fog, you must stay still. You must wait. You must think slowly and clearly. Write things down. Get your thoughts on paper. Separate what you know from what you feel, because feelings are powerful, but they are not always accurate. And when you start to see the lies for what they are, they lose their grip. You begin to realize, no, I'm not broken, I'm bruised, but I'm healing. No, I'm not alone. I just haven't reached out. No, this won't last forever. It just feels that way right now. This isn't toxic positivity. This is Stoic truth. It's about facing the brutal reality, but refusing to surrender your identity to it. You don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt. You don't have to smile through everything. But you do have to stay awake. You do have to separate truth from illusion, because your mind is your most valuable asset, and pain will try to take it from you, so protect it. When pain speaks, listen, but don't believe everything it says. Let it talk, let it pass, but don't let it lead. You are the thinker, you are the observer, you are the one who decides what's real and what isn't. And when in doubt, remember this. If the thought makes you feel hopeless, powerless, or unworthy, it's not truth. It's pain speaking. And you are not pain. You are the witness. You are the warrior. You are the one who sees clearly, even in the storm. So the next time pain whispers, "This is who you are now," look it straight in the eye and say, "No, I am not the lie. I am the one who sees through it." Number 7. Feel first, fix later. Most people are afraid of emotion, not because they admit it, but because they've been trained to escape it. The moment discomfort shows up, they go straight into fixing, into solving, into doing something to make the feeling stop. But here's the truth. Jumping into problem solving too early is just another form of avoidance. It's control disguised as courage. But real courage, real strength, that's found in the space before the solution. It's found in your ability to feel. The strong don't rush to fix. They feel first. They let the storm pass through them instead of pushing it away. They let the grief run its course. They let the anger be acknowledged. They let the fear rise, then fall, without jumping into distraction or denial. You can't heal what you refuse to fully feel. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were emotional warriors. They didn't suppress or deny emotion. They studied it. They observed it. They felt it deeply, but without letting it master them. Marcus Aurelius didn't write, "Don't feel." He wrote, "Control begins with understanding." And understanding only comes when you slow down and let yourself feel first. When something painful happens, your first instinct will be to act, to fix the situation, to solve the problem. But sometimes that reaction is just fear. Fear of sitting with the feeling, fear of silence, fear of being alone with the truth. And if you act too soon, you miss what the pain is trying to show you. Think about it like this. When you get a wound, you don't throw a bandage on it without looking. You clean it. You examine it. You feel the sting, because if you skip that part, if you cover it too fast, it gets infected underneath. It gets worse. Your emotions work the same way. You have to feel before you fix. You have to let the tears fall. You have to let the grief move. You have to sit with the discomfort and say, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. I'm listening." That's what the strong do. They don't flinch. They don't rush. They stay present. And because they do that, they come out wiser, clearer, more grounded. This is what most people get wrong. They think emotional strength means getting over things quickly. But real emotional strength means giving things the time they need to move through you, fully, not forever, not endlessly, but enough. Enough to let the emotion do its work. Because emotions aren't just noise, they're signals, they're messengers. They show you what matters, they show you what hurts. And if you're willing to feel without rushing to fix, you'll find the clarity you need after. You'll see the pattern, you'll hear the message, you'll know exactly what to do next, but from a calm, centered place, not a panicked one. So next time you feel overwhelmed, don't just reach for the solution. Pause, breathe. Ask yourself, have I fully felt this yet? Or am I just trying to skip ahead? Let the feeling come, let it move, let it leave on its own time. This is the emotional discipline that leads to peace. It may feel uncomfortable, it may feel slow, but this space, this pause, is where your healing begins. Because if you skip this step, you may solve the problem, but the pain will stay, hidden, waiting, unresolved. But if you feel first, truly feel, you'll find that the fixing part becomes easier, quieter, wiser, more effective. You'll respond from clarity instead of reactivity. You'll act with wisdom, not with fear. And that is the mark of someone who doesn't just react to life, but leads themselves through it. So the next time the urge to fix everything rises, stop, sit with yourself, let the feeling speak, let it move, let it complete its cycle. And once it has, once you've felt it fully, then fix what needs to be fixed, not from panic, not from fear, but from power. Number 8. Rehearse pain in peace. If you wait for the storm to train, it's already too late. Most people only think about strength after life breaks them. They wait until the pressure is unbearable, until everything collapses. Then they try to become tough. Then they try to build discipline, courage, resilience. But by then, they're already drowning. The strong, they don't wait for chaos. They train during the calm. They rehearse pain while things are still peaceful. This is one of the most powerful Stoic ideas. Practice hardship voluntarily. Don't wait to suffer by chance. Choose it on purpose. Why? Because every time you expose yourself to discomfort, you become stronger. Every time you step into struggle willingly, you remind yourself, I can handle this. That's how you become anti-fragile. Not just unshaken by pain, but made stronger by it. Think of cold exposure. It's not just about building tolerance to cold, it's about building a relationship with discomfort. You step into something that shocks your body, and instead of panicking, you breathe. You stay calm. You control your mind. That's a skill you can take into every part of your life. Or take fasting. It's not just about food. It's about learning how to tell your impulses no. It's about sitting with craving and saying, "You don't own me." That's power. Or rejection training, intentionally asking for things and risking no again and again. It teaches you not to crumble when you hear no. It teaches you to detach your worth from approval. All of these are forms of chosen struggle. They simulate future adversity. They prepare you. They turn stress into training. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, practiced this over 2,000 years ago. He would sleep on the floor, wear rough clothing, eat the simplest food, not because he had to, but because he chose to. Why? So when real hardship came, it didn't shock him. He was already ready. He said, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" He wasn't avoiding life's difficulty. He was rehearsing for it. That's what you must do. You must train yourself while things are good, while you have the choice, while you still feel safe. Because when the world eventually hits you, and it will, you don't want your first experience with pain to be the real thing. That's why soldiers train endlessly before battle, why athletes push themselves before game day, why monks embrace simplicity and silence. Because training in peace builds strength for war. So ask yourself, where am I too comfortable? Where am I depending too much on convenience, on ease, on control? And what small hardship can I practice today that will strengthen my mind? You don't need to become a monk. You don't need to suffer endlessly, but you do need to build the habit of voluntary struggle. Wake up early when you don't feel like it. Take the cold shower. Skip a meal once in a while. Ask the uncomfortable question. Say no to the thing you crave. Sit in silence when your mind wants noise. Every time you do that, you build armor, quietly, internally. And that armor shows up later, when you're blindsided by grief, or failure, or rejection. While others fall apart, you stay steady. Not because life is easier for you, but because you've trained for it. You rehearsed. You chose the hard path early, so the hard path later doesn't destroy you. This is what it means to live with discipline, to think ahead, to train for adversity while others are numbing themselves with comfort. So the next time life feels easy, don't waste that peace. Use it. Train your mind. Challenge your comfort. Rehearse for the future. Not because you expect pain to come, but because when it does, you'll be ready. And when the storm arrives, while others panic, you'll simply tighten your grip, steady your breath, and say, "I've already been here. I trained for this." Number 9. Reject the cult of constant comfort. Look around you. Every message from modern life says the same thing. Be comfortable. Avoid pain. Seek ease. Make everything effortless. We've built a culture that worships comfort like a god. Fast food, instant answers, soft beds, endless entertainment. Push a button, get a reward. Swipe, get approval. Click, feel better. Everything now, everything easy. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Comfort is weakening you. Not because comfort is bad, but because too much of it slowly kills your edge, your resilience, your hunger, your ability to suffer well. You become soft, not just in body, but in mind. And when life finally gets hard, and it always will, you're not ready. The Stoics warned us about this. They didn't hate comfort, but they refused to be ruled by it. They saw it for what it was: a trap, a seduction, a slow erosion of strength if left unchecked. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." You don't grow when everything is easy. You grow when you choose discomfort on purpose, not for glory, not for applause, but because you know that strength is built in the struggle. This is what the strong understand. Comfort may feel good, but it doesn't build you. What builds you is doing hard things intentionally. Waking up early when it's easier to stay in bed. Going to the gym when your body is tired. Facing the difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. Choosing the long-term gain over the short-term pleasure. And not because you're chasing an achievement, but because you're training your mind. Every hard thing you do is like a rep in the gym for your soul. When you resist the urge to take the easy path, you become someone different, someone rare, someone reliable, someone ready. Because when the real hardship shows up, illness, loss, failure, rejection, you won't fall apart. You've trained for it. But most people, they stay weak, not because they're incapable, but because they've been told their whole lives to stay comfortable, to avoid stress, to never feel friction. They spend years avoiding discomfort and then wonder why they fall apart under pressure. Don't follow them. Reject the cult of comfort. Build your own ritual of resilience. Do hard things, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Because you understand that pain is not your enemy, it's your instructor. This doesn't mean you become extreme. It doesn't mean you hate rest or reject pleasure. It means you stay balanced. You stay sharp. You stay disciplined in a world that tells you to coast. Train when you don't feel like it. Take the stairs. Walk in the cold. Turn down the instant pleasure. Say no when your emotions say yes. And do it quietly, without applause, without making a show. Why? Because you're not doing it for anyone else. You're doing it for your inner strength, for your mental discipline, for your spiritual armor. Comfort might keep you safe today, but discomfort prepares you for tomorrow. So the next time you're faced with a choice, easy or difficult, pause and ask yourself, which one builds me? That's the question the Stoic asks. Not, what feels good, but what makes me stronger? Live by that, and you'll be prepared for whatever life throws at you. Because when you stop worshipping comfort and start embracing discomfort on your own terms, you don't just survive chaos, you thrive in it. Number 10. Make peace with the unfixable. Not all pain can be solved. Not all wounds close the way you want them to. Some losses are final. Some scars never fade. Some questions never get answered. And the sooner you accept this, the freer you become. You see, we're taught that pain is always a problem to solve, that every emotion, every memory, every ache has a solution, that if we just read enough, work enough, heal enough, we'll get over it. But the truth, some pain doesn't go away. It becomes part of you. And real strength isn't about escaping it. It's about making peace with it. This is where most people struggle. They spend years chasing closure that may never come. They want to fix the unfixable, erase the past, undo the hurt. But some things in life can't be undone. So the Stoic path is not to erase the pain, but to integrate it, to carry it, not as a burden that breaks you, but as a piece of your story that strengthens you. That's what sacred dignity means. It means honoring your scars instead of hiding them. It means saying, "This happened, it hurt, it changed me, but it does not define me." Think about your greatest pain, the one that still lingers in the background of your life. Maybe it was a loss, a betrayal, a mistake, a trauma that changed everything. You might not be able to fix it, but you can choose what it means. You can choose how you carry it. You don't have to pretend it didn't matter. You don't have to bury it deep. You simply have to stop letting it rule your identity. There is power in acceptance, not passive surrender, but active integration. You say, "This will live in me, and I will live stronger because of it, not smaller." Marcus Aurelius lost many children. He lost friends. He faced war, sickness, pressure no human should bear. But he didn't run from grief. He didn't demand answers the universe wouldn't give him. He accepted what he couldn't change and focused on who he could become because of it. That's Stoicism. That's power. Too many people spend their lives resisting the things they cannot undo. They keep reopening the wound, thinking, "If I can just understand it, maybe it will stop hurting." But you don't have to fully understand your pain to make peace with it. You only have to stop fighting it, stop making it your identity, and start letting it refine you instead of define you. The scar can stay, but it doesn't need to speak for you anymore. Let it remind you of what you've lived through. Let it humble you. Let it connect you with others who carry invisible pain too. Let it give you empathy, depth, and resilience. And then let it rest. You don't need to solve the unsolvable. You just need to carry it with dignity, like a warrior carries his wounds, not as shame, but as proof that he fought and survived. So when that unfixable thing rises in your chest, the one you wish you could delete, forget, undo, don't panic. Sit with it, acknowledge it, and then say, "You are part of my story, but you are not the end of it." That's peace. That's strength. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. It's quiet, unshakable, true. Some wounds never fully heal, but that doesn't mean you can't live a full life, a strong life, a meaningful one. You just have to stop trying to be whole by erasing the brokenness and start becoming whole by including it. So from now on, when you face something you can't fix, remember, you are not weak for feeling it. You are not broken for carrying it, and you are not less for accepting it. You are strong because you face it with dignity. You are wise because you no longer resist what cannot be undone, and you are free because you've stopped trying to escape the unfixable, and instead, you've made peace with it. Number 11. Use pain as a lens, not a label. Pain changes how you see the world. That's not a weakness. It's a gift. It makes you notice things others miss. It sharpens your perception. It teaches you to pay attention to tone, silence, timing, energy. It trains you to read the room, to read yourself, to detect truth beneath words, to recognize patterns you used to ignore. This is the hidden power of suffering. It increases awareness. It clears the fog. It strips away the illusions you once lived by. But here's the danger. While pain sharpens your lens, it also tries to become your label. It whispers, "This is who you are now." It tells you that your wounds define you, that your past pain is your identity, that your story is now limited by what you've been through. That is the trap. That is the lie. Yes, pain gives you insight. Yes, it changes you. But it does not name you. It does not set the boundaries for who you are or who you're allowed to become. You are not your suffering. You are the one who sees through it. The Stoics understood this. They didn't reject pain, they used it to see clearly, but they never let it become their identity. They didn't write, "I am my grief." They wrote, "Grief has visited me, and I am learning from it." There's a difference. You are allowed to use pain as a lens, a tool for awareness, for empathy, for wisdom. But the moment you turn it into a label, you shrink. You start to believe you can't grow past it. You stay small. You build your personality around your past and call it truth. That's not strength. That's resignation. Real strength says, yes, I've suffered. Yes, I've changed. But I am still becoming. I'm not done. Think of pain like glasses. You put them on so you can see better. But you don't wear them inside your soul. You don't let them rewrite your name. You use them. You learn from them. And then you keep going. Let pain expand your awareness of yourself, of others, of the world. Let it deepen your understanding. Let it open your eyes. But do not let it close your future. If you're not careful, you'll start to define everything through the lens of your past pain. Every relationship, every opportunity, every risk. You'll say, "This always happens to me. I know how this ends. I've been here before." And with that, you'll create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Not because life is against you, but because pain has become your filter for everything. You can't afford that. You need your pain for clarity, not for identity. So when pain arrives, and it will, let it teach you, let it heighten your senses, let it show you what you've been blind to. But after that, take off the label. You're not the broken one. You're not the abandoned one. You're not the one who never gets it right. You are the one who sees sharply, the one who feels deeply, the one who continues forward. There is no strength in pretending you haven't been hurt, but there is power in refusing to be reduced by that hurt. So here's the practice. When pain rises, pause. Ask yourself, what is this showing me that I couldn't see before? Where is the insight, the lesson, the clarity? Use it. Don't run from it. But once the message is received, let the moment pass. Don't tattoo it on your spirit. Don't turn a season into a sentence. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to grow. Even if you've carried deep pain, especially if you've carried deep pain. So from now on, use pain as a lens, to see more clearly, to feel more honestly, to live more intentionally. But never let it become your label. You are not what hurt you. You are what you choose to do with it. Number 12. Let pain initiate you into purpose. There's a moment after the shock, after the heartbreak, after the collapse, where something changes. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" And you start asking, "What can I do with this?" That's the shift. That's when pain stops being just pain and starts becoming purpose. Because the truth is, many people discover their mission, not in victory, but in their wounds, not in success, but in suffering. The thing that nearly broke you, the loss you thought you'd never recover from, the secret pain you carried in silence for years. That might be your beginning, not your end. The Stoics believed nothing is wasted, not even your deepest pain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very thing that hurt you the most might be the path that leads you to your highest purpose. You don't find strength by surviving pain. You find strength by using that pain for something greater than yourself. Anyone can suffer in silence. Anyone can carry a scar. But the strong, the rare few, take that scar and light a fire with it. They turn their past into fuel, into service, into a mission. Think of it this way. Maybe your deepest pain didn't come to destroy you. Maybe it came to reveal you, to activate something inside you that was asleep. A voice, a cause, a message, a purpose. You see this everywhere. People who've lost loved ones become healers. People who've faced addiction become guides. People who've survived abuse become protectors of others. Not because the pain disappeared, but because they transformed it. That's what you must do. That's the final evolution. You've endured the storm. You've faced yourself. You've stopped running. You've extracted the lesson. You've owned your mind. Now it's time to serve, because pain without purpose becomes poison, but pain with purpose becomes power. You were not meant to suffer forever. You were meant to walk through suffering and then walk others through it too. Your story can be someone else's survival guide. Your breakthrough can become someone else's starting point. Your scars can give someone else hope. But only if you choose to rise. Only if you stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Maybe this was for something." And don't wait until everything makes sense. It may never fully make sense, but that doesn't mean it can't be useful. You don't have to be perfect to lead. You just have to be willing to share what you've lived. The world doesn't need more polished people. It needs more real ones, more honest ones, more strong souls who faced their own darkness and are now holding up a light for others. That can be you. But first, you must decide. I will not waste this pain. I will not let it end with me. I will use it. I will carry it with honor. And I will turn it into something that helps others stand back up. That's not just healing. That's transformation. So look back at everything you've survived. All the silent battles, all the quiet strength, all the lessons earned in darkness. And now, ask yourself, who can I help because of what I've lived through? How can I serve? What fire has pain lit inside me that needs to be shared? Let that question guide you. Let it shape your mission. And when the doubt comes, because it will, remind yourself, this pain didn't come to bury me. It came to initiate me. I am not just a survivor. I am a force. I am a light. I am a guide, because I have turned my pain into purpose. And now I rise. You've just walked through 12 Stoic rules that don't just help you survive pain, they teach you how to wield it, how to face it without fear, how to extract its lessons, how to carry your scars with strength, not shame. You've learned to rise at dawn with purpose, to feel before you fix, to own your inner world, to rehearse struggle, to turn suffering into service. These aren't theories. These are tools. Now it's your turn to use them. Pain is not the enemy. It's the invitation to become something more, to build a life that isn't soft, but solid, grounded, unshakable. So stop running. Face it. Integrate it. Rise with it. And now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and complete this sentence. My pain taught me so. Say it out loud. Say it for yourself. Say it for someone else who might need to hear it. And if this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, not for noise, but for more calm, clear, and focused strength, delivered straight to your mind. The journey doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. Let's keep walking forward, on purpose. In a world overflowing with health tips and wellness advice, very few people pause to reflect on something as fundamental as water. Drinking water might seem like a simple act, right? But the reality is that the vast majority, About 99% of people aren't even aware that there's a right way to do it. I invite you to stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover could enrich every area of your life. If this is your first time on my channel, I kindly ask you to subscribe, give a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and share this video with others. Your support helps me continue creating content like this, dedicated to your growth and well-being. Drinking water isn't only about quantity, it's also about the timing, the manner, and the awareness with which we do it. These seemingly small factors can have a significant impact on our energy, our health, and our overall well-being. Together, we will explore how something so basic can carry such a deep influence on our lives, if only we learn how to approach it correctly. I encourage you to listen closely from the beginning, letting your mind gently settle into each word. It's important to watch this video all the way through, as every part holds insights essential to your personal development. In this episode, we present an illustrated story to help you truly understand the power of water and how drinking it the right way can bring about positive transformation in your life. Through this story, you'll find yourself relating to everyday situations as we dive deeper into the meaningful lessons behind how our water drinking habits affect our well-being. These teachings aim to help you reconnect with the act of drinking water, not just as a necessity, but as a conscious ritual that opens the door to a healthier, more balanced, and more mindful life. Let's begin. It was a hot, sun-soaked day, the kind where the sky stretched endlessly in a brilliant blue, and the sun stood tall above the city. The towering concrete buildings seemed to blur into the skyline, while a public park emerged like a peaceful oasis amid the chaos. Majestic, old trees bordered the pathways, their wide branches forming a protective canopy that cast dappled shadows along the ground. At the heart of the park stood an old stone fountain, its crystal-clear streams of water glittering beneath the sunlight. Luis, a man in his 30s, arrived at the park, already drenched with sweat from the intensity of his morning workout. His dark, curly hair stuck to his forehead, and his grey tracksuit clung damply to his back. Luis lived his life in a constant loop. Wake up, hit the gym, rush to work, grab a quick bite, repeat. Free time for him was just another opportunity to get ahead on emails, meetings, or his endless to-do list. As he entered the park, he was still glued to his phone, replying to work messages, planning his next steps, barely noticing the peaceful world around him. He settled onto an old, worn-out wooden bench next to the fountain and sighed. Without looking up, he reached into his backpack and pulled out a plastic water bottle, hastily purchased from a nearby shop. The faint sound of the cap twisting open was lost in the ambient hum of the fountain and distant birdsong. As always, Luis drank in rushed gulps, barely tasting the water as it coursed down his throat. Not far from him, a man stood silently, observing with eyes that missed nothing. He wore a simple white linen shirt and loose-fitting brown pants, perfect for the warmth of the day. His hair, snowy white, caught the sunlight, and a short beard framed his gentle, time-worn face. His deep-set eyes, shadowed by countless wrinkles, radiated an unshakable serenity, as if the world could not unsettle him. This man was Don Esteban. He had been watching Luis, not judging, but noticing. The hurried way Luis drank water, disconnected and mechanical, reminded him of something he had long since learned, something few people still remembered. He stood there for a moment, thoughtful, and then walked toward the bench, his movements slow and purposeful. When he was close enough, he spoke, not loud, but clear enough to be heard over the hum of the city. "That's not the way to drink water," he said gently, cutting through Luis's mental fog. Startled, Luis looked up, setting his phone aside. His eyes met the older man's calm, steady gaze. For a brief second he didn't know what to think. Who was this stranger, and why did he care how Luis drank water? "Excuse me?" Luis asked, more puzzled than offended. "The water," repeated Don Esteban, his voice kind and even. "It's not something to consume in a rush, like a task to be checked off your list. Drinking water is an art. It's one of the most vital ways we nourish not only our bodies, but also our spirits. It's not just about quenching thirst." Luis raised an eyebrow. He had heard his share of unusual philosophies in his time, but this, calling water, drinking an art, sounded like something lifted from the pages of a self-help book. Still, something about the old man's presence made it hard to dismiss. He wasn't dramatic or eccentric or trying to preach. He simply seemed to know something that Luis didn't. "I didn't know there was a right way to drink water," Luis replied, his tone skeptical but open. "That's exactly the problem," Don Esteban said with a small smile. "In today's world, we've forgotten the simple things. Everything has become rushed and transactional. But there is deep wisdom in the basics, and water, it is the most essential of them all. It deserves our attention and respect." Luis listened, not entirely convinced, but also not turning away. Something about the words struck a nerve. Maybe it was true. He lived fast. Too fast. He didn't stop to appreciate the small things anymore. But wasn't that normal? Wasn't that just life? "And what do you suggest?" Luis asked, unsure why he was continuing the conversation. "I suggest something very simple," the old man said, his voice as calm as ever. "Come with me, just for a little while. Let me show you what many have forgotten about water." Luis blinked, caught off guard. The whole thing felt a little strange, random even, but a part of him, a quiet inner voice, told him he had nothing to lose. There were no urgent meetings, no looming deadlines, and curiosity, long buried under daily grind, flickered inside him once more. "All right," he said finally, slipping the bottle back into his bag. "But if this gets too weird, I'm out." Don Esteban chuckled, a warm, inviting sound. "Don't worry, young man. I won't take you far. Just far enough for you to discover something new." With those words, the old man turned and began walking. Luis glanced around the park one last time, then stood up and followed. As they moved away from the fountain and down a more secluded path, Luis wondered what this journey would reveal. Could there really be more to something as ordinary as water? Don Esteban led the way through a tree-lined path, the noise of the city fading behind them with each step. After a few minutes of peaceful walking, they reached a small wooden cabin nestled at the edge of the park. Nature wrapped itself around the structure, with moss-covered walls and a lush garden of medicinal herbs growing in tidy, intentional patterns, clearly cared for by a skilled hand. Inside, the cabin radiated a comforting warmth. A stone fireplace glowed in the back, above which rested an antique ceramic teapot. The rich scent of herbs blended with the aroma of firewood, enveloping the room in a sense of timelessness and calm. It was as if the modern world had been left far behind. Luis looked around, taking in the shelves lined with glass jars full of dried plants and the vintage kitchen tools hanging neatly on the walls, relics of a slower, more deliberate era. Something in the air made him feel like he had stepped into another world, one where every detail mattered and every action carried meaning. And here, in this space of stillness, he began to understand. Maybe water really was more than just water. Don Esteban invited him to sit at a rustic wooden table, aged and weathered by time, but still standing firm. Luis, however, remained silent and did not take a seat. The old man calmly prepared 2 glasses of water, one filled with warm water that released a delicate steam, and the other with water so cold it gathered tiny droplets of condensation on the outside of the glass. Luis watched quietly, intrigued by what was about to unfold. "Drink the cold water first," Don Esteban said, pointing to the frosted glass. Luis, slightly skeptical, yet obedient, reached for the cold glass. The crisp liquid slid quickly down his throat, bringing a momentary sense of relief. But almost immediately, he noticed a slight discomfort in his stomach. Something didn't feel quite right. "Now try the warm one," Don Esteban said, his voice soft yet firm with conviction. Luis set down the cold glass and picked up the warm one. This time he sipped more slowly, allowing the gentle warmth of the water to flow through his body. It didn't deliver the immediate refreshment that the cold water had, but as it went down, he experienced an unexpected calm. His entire body seemed to relax, as if each cell welcomed the soothing temperature. "Do you notice it?" asked Don Esteban, his eyes watching Luis with quiet intensity. "It's different," Luis replied thoughtfully. "The warm water feels gentler, more comforting. The cold one refreshed me at first, but now my stomach feels a bit unsettled." The old man nodded, clearly satisfied with the response. "Water, like many things in life, has its time and its manner of being received. Cold water, though it may seem like the invigorating choice, can actually shock the body. Warm water, however, moves in harmony with your system, helping it find its balance, especially in the mornings when your body is just waking up. It's important not to jolt it abruptly." Luis nodded as the lesson began to sink in. He recalled the many times he had gulped down ice-cold water after a run, only to feel uncomfortable moments later, like something inside didn't sit well. He had never really considered how water temperature might affect his body. "So, should I stop drinking cold water altogether?" Luis asked, still slightly confused. "There's no need to avoid it entirely," Don Esteban responded. "But it's essential to know when and how to drink it. In the mornings, when your body is most open and sensitive, warm water is your ally. During hot days, cold water can have its place, but always in moderation. The key lies in knowing what your body needs at any given moment. And that," he added gently, "requires attention and respect." Luis leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on the fire crackling in the hearth. Something as simple as drinking water, something he had always done without a second thought, suddenly felt deeply meaningful. A quiet sense of gratitude welled up within him, directed toward this old man who had, with just a few gestures and words, opened a doorway to something so fundamental yet so overlooked. "It's strange," Luis murmured after a while. "I always thought water was just water, something we drink because we need to. I never imagined there could be so much behind it." "Life is full of small details we overlook," Don Esteban replied with a faint smile. "And it's in those small details that true wisdom often hides. When you start paying attention to the basics, like water, you'll begin to discover a vast realm of knowledge waiting to be understood." A comfortable silence settled between them, different from earlier. Luis stared at the glass of warm water before him, feeling a new and unexpected connection to it. This simple element he had always taken for granted. Deep within him, something began to shift. A small spark of awareness, long dormant, was now stirring. Don Esteban stood up slowly and walked to a nearby window, looking out into the garden where medicinal plants swayed softly in the morning breeze. His voice grew gentler, almost as though speaking to himself, yet clearly meant for Luis. Water is life. It surrounds us, nourishes us, and sometimes, if we listen, it teaches us. Never underestimate its power. If you can begin to understand something as simple and essential as water, you will find yourself understanding much more about who you are. Luis, still holding the warm glass in his hand, couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter, this seemingly ordinary moment, was the beginning of something far greater than he had anticipated. This meeting with Don Esteban and the lesson of water felt like the threshold of a new perspective on life. The next morning, Luis awoke to the gentle sound of birds singing just outside the cabin. A cool morning breeze drifted through the open window, carrying with it a scent that was fresh and revitalizing. Still feeling the traces of sleep, he slowly sat up in the wooden bed Don Esteban had offered him for the night. Despite the rustic setting, he had slept better than he ever did in his city apartment. As he stood up and peered into the small adjoining room, he saw Don Esteban engaged in what appeared to be a daily ritual. Before a small altar made of intricately carved wood stood a single glass of warm water. Candles flickered softly around it, casting a warm glow, and smooth river stones formed a protective circle around the base. The old man, dressed in a simple linen tunic, stepped toward the altar with quiet reverence. He paused for a moment, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. Then, with steady hands, he lifted the glass and took a slow, measured sip, as if the water contained something sacred. Luis watched silently, captivated by the deliberate grace of the act. To him, water had never been more than a way to quench his thirst, something done mindlessly. But watching Don Esteban, he saw something else. There was purpose, there was reverence, and there was meaning beyond the physical act. "Why do you do that?" Luis asked, his voice rough from just waking up. Don Esteban turned to him with a slight smile, then looked back at the water, holding it up to the light pouring through the window. "Water," he began in his calm, slow tone, "is life. Without it, nothing survives. But it's not only the act of drinking that matters, it's when and how you drink it. This is the first glass I have every morning. Before anything else enters my body, I offer it thanks. It's my way of preparing for the day." Luis furrowed his brow, stepping closer to the altar. Something about this ritual fascinated him. He gazed at the glass, as though it had suddenly acquired a significance he had never noticed before. "Why is it so important to drink water right after waking up?" he asked. "Because after hours of sleep, your body is dehydrated," Don Esteban explained, gently placing the glass back on the altar. "Your organs need to be gently reawakened. Warm water helps to do that without shocking the system. Drinking it on an empty stomach not only hydrates you, but also aids in cleansing the body. It jump-starts your metabolism and helps remove toxins." Luis stood quietly, taking in the old man's words. He recalled all the rushed mornings when he left his apartment without a drop of water until much later, usually at the office or while hurrying through the day. "I always figured I'd just drink water when I felt thirsty," he admitted, feeling slightly embarrassed. "That's what most people do," Don Esteban replied kindly. "But the body doesn't always know how to ask for what it truly needs. Thirst is often a sign that you're already dehydrated. What I'm trying to show you is how to be one step ahead. Drinking water at the right times isn't just about satisfying thirst. It's an act of care and intention. He gestured to the glass still glowing in the morning light. This glass, the one I drink upon waking, it's the most important of the day. But it's also crucial to drink water before meals. Doing so prepares your digestive system and helps the body process food more efficiently. Water works like a lubricant, helping your organs function smoothly. If you wait until after eating, it can actually dilute the digestive juices and interfere with digestion. Luis nodded slowly, each word adding to the growing realization. He thought of all the times he had downed large glasses of water right after meals, thinking he was helping his body, when in reality he might have been making digestion harder. "So when should I avoid drinking water?" he asked, hoping to avoid repeating past mistakes. "It's best not to drink large amounts during meals," Don Esteban answered. "A few small sips are fine, but ideally, drink before you eat. It's all about timing and balance." He reflected on all the times he had consumed large amounts of water immediately after eating, believing he was aiding his digestion, when in reality he may have been doing just the opposite. Curious and determined not to repeat the same mistake, he asked, "So, when should I avoid drinking water?" Don Esteban answered with calm clarity, "It's better to avoid drinking large quantities of water during meals. Small sips are fine, but ideally, water should be taken before eating, as I mentioned earlier. The same goes for bedtime. It's best not to drink too much water before sleeping. Your body needs to rest, not work, to process it through the night." Luis sat in thoughtful silence, taking in what he had just heard. He had never really stopped to consider these small details. To him, water had always been something routine, simply a necessity to quench thirst. But now, he was beginning to realize that there was much more to this daily act than he had ever imagined. The quiet in the cabin was only broken by the gentle crackling of firewood in the fireplace. Don Esteban turned to Luis with a knowing look. "Satisfaction isn't just about when you drink water," he added, "but how you drink it." The old man's tone was filled with meaning. Each sip should be taken with care. Water is a reminder that the simplest things in life can carry deep significance if we learn to appreciate them. Luis nodded slowly, recognizing that he still had much to learn. What had initially felt like an unusual meeting was now starting to bring him answers to questions he hadn't even known he carried. The connection between the body and the mind, something as simple as drinking water at the right time, had unveiled a whole dimension of life he had never explored. He rose from his seat and walked over to the altar, his face thoughtful as he looked at the glass of water Don Esteban had placed there. He picked it up slowly, mimicking the way he had seen the old man do earlier. This time, instead of drinking hastily, he took a small, deliberate sip, feeling the warm water slide gently down his throat. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to be fully present in that moment. No rush, no distractions, just him and the water. The morning sun filtered through the trees, casting soft, dancing shadows on the moist earth. Esteban and Luis stood in the back garden of the cabin, a place alive with color and movement. The garden was a testament to natural harmony, with plants of all sizes and shades, some thriving in full bloom, while others were just beginning to bud. Every part of it seemed to have been tended with care, as if each plant was essential to the balance of the whole. With his usual calm presence, Esteban handed Luis a watering can. The metal was warm from the sun, and although the can appeared small, it felt heavy with water. Luis looked at the old man with a curious expression, unsure of what he was about to be taught next. "I want you to water these plants," Don Esteban instructed, gesturing toward the rows of vibrant vegetation that spread out before them. "But do it with care. Observe how much water each one needs." Luis nodded, trying to follow the instructions. He knelt before the first plant, a small succulent, and let a stream of water fall over its thick leaves. The plant seemed content, letting the water glide over its surface without absorbing much. Then he moved to a bush with delicate white flowers, and later to a taller plant. When he watered that one, he noticed how quickly the water vanished into the thirsty soil around it. "Do you see the difference?" Don Esteban asked from nearby, watching him closely. Luis nodded, captivated by what he was observing. Some plants only needed a little water, while others seemed desperate for more. The difference was subtle, but crucial. "Each plant is different," Esteban continued. "Some have deep roots, some shallow. Some are used to dry conditions, others need constant moisture. If you water them all the same way, some will drown, while others will dry out. Our bodies are the same. Not everyone needs the same amount of water. It's important to learn how to listen to the signs your body gives you." Luis paused, absorbing the wisdom. He had always believed that everyone needed a set amount of water each day, as if human bodies followed identical rules. But now, seeing how each plant responded differently, he began to understand the complexity of the human body in a new light. "How do I know how much water my body needs?" Luis asked, as he carefully continued watering the plants. Don Esteban smiled gently, as though he had been waiting for that question. "Your body will tell you," he said, "but only if you are willing to listen. Thirst is an obvious signal, yes, but it's not the only one. Your skin, your energy levels, even your digestion can reveal whether you're drinking enough. It's not about a fixed number. It's about paying attention to how your body feels." Luis paused, watching the water seep into the earth, nourishing the hidden roots beneath the surface. He realized how often he had ignored his own body's signals, simply following a behavior pattern that seemed normal. Drinking water had always been a habit, but never a conscious one. "Look at this plant," Don Esteban said, pointing to a young sprout with bright green leaves. "If you overwater it, the roots will rot. If you don't give it enough, it'll dry out. Everything in life needs balance, and water is no exception. You are like this plant. If you learn to understand what you need, you'll live in harmony with your body." Luis tilted the watering can and let the water flow gently this time, watching as the soil slowly absorbed it. The air around them felt fresh, revitalized. It was as if every drop held a deeper meaning, each act of watering a small contribution with unseen significance. "So there's no exact amount to follow?" Luis asked, seeking more clarity. "Not for everyone," Esteban responded. "Yes, there are general recommendations, of course, but your body is unique. Some people need more water, others less. It depends on your activity, your diet, even your emotional state. Drinking water with awareness isn't just about satisfying thirst. It's about nurturing every part of you." Luis set the watering can down and looked around. Every plant in that garden was a reflection of Don Esteban's teachings, that life in all its forms had specific needs. Water, which he had once taken for granted, now carried a deeper, almost sacred meaning. "It's strange," Luis said after a quiet moment. "Before I met you, I never thought of water this way. Drinking it was automatic, just something to do and move on. But now I see it differently. It's about balance. It's a connection between the body and the world around us." Don Esteban nodded, pleased by Luis's insight. That's what many people have forgotten. We live in a world of excess, where we believe more is always better. But sometimes, what we truly need is less. Less quantity, but more mindfulness. Less urgency, but greater attention. If you understand this with water, you'll begin to understand it in many other areas of life as well. Luis knelt down and touched the cool, moist soil beneath him, feeling its texture against his skin. The garden, with its stillness and vitality, had become a living metaphor, a reminder that every drop of water, every plant, every deliberate act held a purpose deeper than he had ever realized. So, Luis said thoughtfully, the key is to listen to my body and to my surroundings. Exactly, Esteban replied. And remember, it's not just about how much water you drink, but also how and when you do it. If you can learn to pay attention to those subtle signs, you'll find yourself becoming more in tune, not only with your own body, but also with the world around you. Luis smiled softly, experiencing an inner peace that had long eluded him. In that garden, surrounded by the vibrant presence of life, the simple act of watering plants had become something deeper, a lesson about harmony and mindful presence. He knew that this moment, this teaching, would linger with him far beyond the confines of that day. It had changed something in him, altering the way he would see something as ordinary yet vital as water. 5. The right way to drink water. The sun was beginning its descent, casting golden light across the garden as Luis and Don Esteban returned to the quiet cabin. Their walk among the plants had left Luis deep in thought. Each creak of the wooden floor beneath his feet as he stepped inside made him feel like he was entering a sacred space. Don Esteban's earlier words still lingered in the air, echoing the peaceful energy of their surroundings. Inside the cabin, there was a stillness that felt almost sacred, soft and enveloping. Only the gentle song of birds and the whispering wind slipping through the nearby trees broke the silence. Don Esteban motioned to a carved wooden chair beside a rustic table. The chair looked sturdy, almost ancient, yet it gave off a warm feeling, as if its surface, worn by time, held many stories. On the table, a single glass of water sat, positioned perfectly where a shaft of sunlight from the window bathed it in gentle light. The glass sparkled, casting delicate flickers that lit up the space with an almost otherworldly glow. Luis couldn't take his eyes off it. From the window's glow down to the glass itself, the once simple object now carried a profound sense of significance. "Sit," Don Esteban said gently, his voice as calm and steady as ever. Luis did as he was told, easing into the chair. The glass of water seemed as though it had been waiting just for him. Don Esteban sat down nearby, his calm gaze steady and grounding. "Today," he began, "I want to share with you one of the most important lessons about water." His tone was soft, almost ceremonial. The way we drink is just as important as how much we drink and when we do it. Many people consume water without a thought, mindlessly, like it's nothing more than a tool to quench thirst. But water is life itself. It deserves our respect. Luis nodded slowly, recalling earlier teachings about balance and listening to the body's cues. But now the atmosphere had shifted. Don Esteban wasn't just speaking about water in terms of health. He was speaking of it as something sacred, a deeper experience, almost a ritual. "I want you to drink this glass of water," he said, pointing to it. "But do so slowly, with full awareness. Don't drink just to quench your thirst. Drink to feel, to truly experience. Luis picked up the glass, feeling its weight and the coolness of the water within. The chill of the glass contrasted with the warmth of his fingers. He marveled at how the water shimmered in the light, each tiny movement sending soft ripples across the surface. He brought the glass to his lips and took a careful sip. The sensation was different. It wasn't just the coolness or the taste, it was the texture, the smooth flow of the water down his throat. Each sip became a full-body experience, a sensory encounter from the moment the water touched his lips to the instant it disappeared within him. He took another sip, this time closing his eyes to deepen his focus. The water moved gently through him, not just hydrating him, but bringing a sense of mental clarity. For the first time, drinking water wasn't something automatic. It was a practice in mindfulness, a way of anchoring himself fully in the present. When you drink water like this, Don Esteban said, you're remembering your connection to nature. This water has journeyed through rivers, fallen as rain, flowed beneath the earth. Before arriving here in your hands, every drop reminds you that you're part of a greater cycle, the same life-giving rhythm that sustains all living things. Luis opened his eyes, meeting Don Esteban's gaze. The old man's words struck a chord within him. Water was no longer just a necessity. It had become a gesture of reverence, a moment to honor the miracle of life. "Why have I never thought of it this way before?" Luis asked in a whisper, almost afraid to disturb the sacred silence of the moment. Don Esteban gave a gentle smile, his expression full of warmth and understanding. "Because we live in a world that's forgotten how to appreciate the small things. We chase after the grand, the visible, and we overlook the details that carry the deepest truths. Breathing, water, touching the earth. These are simple acts that bind us to life itself, if we are only willing to notice." Luis nodded slowly, feeling a shift within himself. With every sip, something in him was realigning. Water, once taken for granted, had become a vessel for something greater. As he drank, sunlight played through the glass, casting shimmering patterns into the air. The soft sound of swallowing mingled with birdsong outside the cabin, forming a quiet symphony of peace and presence. "Water is also a teacher," Don Esteban continued. "It teaches us to be patient, to move with grace. No matter how many obstacles it meets, it finds a way forward, slowly, steadily, without force. If you can learn to drink water with awareness, you'll also learn to live with that same mindfulness." Luis took the final sip, setting the now empty glass gently on the table. But this time, the act didn't bring the usual feeling of physical relief. Instead, he felt gratitude, deep and humbling, for every drop that had passed through him. A sense of fullness washed over him, not of the body, but of the spirit. "Why does everything here feel like it holds a deeper meaning?" Luis asked, gazing at Don Esteban. The old man leaned back in his chair, folding his hands serenely in his lap. "Because that's what life is. When you look closely, everything, every moment, every action, every object, holds meaning. What seems simple, like drinking a glass of water, can become a doorway to a greater understanding of yourself and the world." Luis looked once more at the empty glass, but it no longer appeared as it had before. Something in him had changed. He now saw how life was revealed in the little things, in those small yet powerful acts that connect us to what truly matters. Drinking water, an act he had done countless times without thought, had now become sacred. The silence that filled the cabin wasn't awkward or empty. It was a stillness that invited reflection, a silence full of meaning. Luis understood now that he hadn't just drunk a glass of water. He had absorbed a lesson about presence, awareness, and above all, a deep respect for the essence of life. 6. What you never imagined about water. You never imagined water could hold such power. The air of the forest was cool and clean, carrying the earthy scent of moss and damp soil. Don Esteban walked quietly ahead of Luis, guiding him along a narrow, barely visible path through the trees. Every step seemed to echo through the woods, as though nature itself was acknowledging their presence with a reverent hush. Leaves rustled underfoot, while golden sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting glowing patches onto the forest floor. Luis couldn't shake the feeling that they were entering a sacred realm, something beyond the ordinary world. "We're almost there," Don Esteban said softly, not bothering to turn around. Luis nodded instinctively, even though he knew the old man couldn't see the gesture. He continued forward, a calm anticipation building within him. He felt as though something deep, something long hidden, was waiting just ahead. After several quiet minutes, they stepped into a secluded clearing, hidden deep within the forest. There, surrounded by moss-covered stones, flowed a small spring of crystal-clear water. The sound of water gliding over smooth stones filled the air with a gentle, unbroken whisper. The space radiated peace, a stillness so complete it felt sacred. "This spring has been here for generations," Don Esteban explained, stopping near the edge of the water. "Its purity remains untouched by human hands. The villagers come here, not just to draw water, but to find peace." Luis stared at the water as it flowed with a serene, almost hypnotic rhythm. Sunlight played across its surface, creating luminous reflections that danced over the rocks. There was something deeply mystical about the spring, as if it held secrets passed down through time, just waiting to be uncovered. "This is the perfect place," Don Esteban continued, kneeling beside the spring, "to teach you something many have forgotten." He gestured for Luis to join him. "Water doesn't just nourish our bodies, it can also nourish our souls, if we learn how to truly connect with it." His knees sank gently into the soft earth as he stood still, watching Don Esteban extend his hands toward the spring. The old man allowed the water to run over his fingers before lifting it slowly to his lips. "Did you know that water has memory?" Don Esteban asked, his gaze serious. Serena and Luis exchanged glances, and Luis looked at him with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. "I've heard something like that," he admitted, "but I never really believed it." Don Esteban offered a soft, knowing smile. "That's understandable in the world we live in today. We've forgotten that nature has its own language. The ancient ones understood something we've lost, that water can hold intentions, that it can respond to our emotions and thoughts. It's not just poetic or mystical thinking. Even modern science is beginning to investigate this idea. But beyond the scientific aspect, it's a deeper way to connect with the world around us." The old man dipped both hands into the spring again, lifting them full of fresh, cool water. He held it gently before Luis, asking him to feel its energy before taking a sip. "Take a moment to give thanks," he advised. Luis hesitated, but mimicked the gesture. At first, the water felt simply cold and fresh, but as he paid closer attention, he sensed something else. A softness in its flow, a vibrant quality he hadn't noticed before. It was still water, yes, but it seemed to possess its own quiet presence, a kind of awareness. It felt alive. "When you drink water," Don Esteban continued, You're not just hydrating your body. You're taking in life energy itself. And that energy is influenced by your mental state, your thoughts, your emotions. That's why it's so important to fill the water with positive intentions before you drink. Luis said nothing, simply watching the old man, sensing he was on the edge of a new understanding. "How do you do that?" he asked, his curiosity deepening. Closing his eyes briefly, Don Esteban held the water with reverence. "You speak to it, not necessarily with words, but with your heart. Thank the water for what it's about to do for you, for its purity, for its ability to nourish you. Tell your body that it will receive this energy in a healthy, renewing way. In doing so, you build a deeper relationship with what you consume, a connection that reaches far beyond the physical." Luis closed his eyes as well, following the old man's lead. Holding the water in his hands, unsure if he was doing it right, he simply let his thoughts come. "Thank you," he thought silently. "Thank you for this moment, for this purity. Let this water nourish me and fill me with life." When he opened his eyes, he looked at the water still cupped in his hands and, for the first time, felt a genuine connection to it. He drank slowly, feeling the coolness slide down his throat. But this time, it wasn't just water. It felt like energy, a direct link between himself and the natural world surrounding him. "Did you feel it?" Don Esteban asked with a warm, approving smile. Luis nodded, unable to fully put into words what he had just experienced. "It felt strange," he confessed. "I never imagined water like this. I always saw it as something basic, necessary. But now, it feels like something more." "That's because it is," said Don Esteban. "Water is life, not just for your body, but for your spirit as well. This spring, for example, has been here for centuries, offering not only water, but a sacred space for peace and reflection. What the ancients believed wasn't mere superstition, it was wisdom. They understood that everything in nature is connected, that energy exists in all things, even in something as ordinary as water." Luis remained quiet for a while, watching the stream as it continued to glide effortlessly over the rocks. Each word from Don Esteban felt like an echo from some ancient truth, something long forgotten by the modern world, but still quietly present, waiting to be remembered. "So, you really think our emotions can change the water?" he finally asked. Don Esteban nodded slowly. "I don't just believe it. I've seen it. When we drink with gratitude, when we form a conscious connection with what we consume, something within us transforms. Water becomes a mirror of that intention, and its power is heightened. It's not magic, it's nature responding to awareness." Luis turned to look at the spring once more. It no longer appeared to be just a natural feature. He saw it now as something more, an ancient teacher, a source not only of hydration, but of wisdom and energy. He felt a wave of deep gratitude for being here, for learning something he had never even considered before. As they rose to head back to the cabin, Luis looked at Don Esteban with new respect. He realized that this was only the beginning of a far deeper connection with life and with the world that surrounded him. The sun had begun its descent, casting golden and amber hues across the horizon as Luis and Don Esteban made their way back through the forest. What had once felt like an unknown and mysterious place now seemed to embrace them, a warm refuge, a sanctuary of peace. The trees swayed gently in the evening breeze, and the steady murmur of the nearby stream accompanied them like an old, familiar song. Upon reaching the cabin, Don Esteban settled onto a worn wooden bench beside the stream. Without a word, Luis sat beside him. The gentle sound of the flowing water filled the air, a soothing reminder of the stillness he had recently discovered within himself. Both remained silent for a time, simply listening to the continuous flow of the water as daylight faded. The silence was finally broken by Don Esteban's voice, as soft as the stream itself. Water never stops. It never resists. It adapts, finds its path around obstacles, and keeps moving forward. That's how we must be. Luis turned toward him slowly, listening intently. He sensed that this was the heart of everything Don Esteban had been teaching him. "What do you mean exactly?" he asked, although deep inside he was already beginning to understand. "Look at the water," said Don Esteban, gesturing to the stream at their feet. "It doesn't complain when it meets a stone. It doesn't stop or turn back. It simply adjusts, finds its way over or around, and continues onward. Water is soft, yet constant. That's its real strength." Luis watched the stream with new eyes. The water flowed on, unconcerned by the pebbles, roots, or turns in its path. Every obstacle was navigated with grace, not resistance. It was as if the water understood that, regardless of the twists and turns, it would eventually reach its destination. "Life," Don Esteban continued, "is filled with obstacles. But how we respond to them, that's what determines our journey. If you meet challenges with rigidity and a closed mind, they will break you. But if you learn to flow like water, to adapt without losing your essence, then you can overcome anything." Luis remained silent, letting the old man's words settle inside him. He knew they were true. He had spent so much of his life resisting, fighting circumstances, trying to control outcomes. But now, watching the endless current of the stream, he realized there was another way to live. "How do you do that?" he finally asked, barely above a whisper. "How do you learn to flow?" Don Esteban gave a gentle smile, as if the answer were both simple and profound. "Listen, observe, and let go," he said calmly. "Water doesn't cling to any shape, and it doesn't try to force a result. It just moves. In the same way, you must learn to accept what life brings. Be present, without holding on to how you think things should be. Keep your heart and your mind open." Luis remembered everything he had been taught: the mindful way of drinking water, the precise amount his body truly needed, the sacred bond with nature. It all seemed now like threads in a much larger tapestry, a message about life itself. Life, like water, is fluid, ever-changing, ever-moving. "The key," Don Esteban said, "is to live in the present. When you cling to the past or worry about the future, you lose your ability to flow. You end up swimming against the current. But when you learn to be here, now, to accept what is, then you become like water, able to move through life with grace." Luis felt a deep, unfamiliar peace settle within him. For the first time, he truly grasped that all of Don Esteban's teachings wasn't solely about the nature of water. It was always about something deeper, something greater. His lessons were metaphors for life itself. Water, in its simplicity and strength, had become a mirror for how I should approach existence, with fluidity, with grace. In the gentle flow of the stream, I began to understand the importance of adaptability and the quiet power of gratitude. The silence that followed our conversation wasn't awkward or empty. It was serene, filled with understanding. The men remained still, gazing at the ever-moving stream, a steady, living symbol of nature's rhythm, of time pressing forward, and of life's relentless journey. Luis, standing there, experienced something profound within himself. Something shifted. What had started as a simple day of learning about water had become something transformative. He was no longer the same man who had begun the morning. Life, he realized, wasn't about trying to control every detail. It wasn't about resisting the winds of change or battling every twist of fate. "Sometimes life takes you down paths you never expected," said Don Esteban gently, as though he were speaking directly to the thoughts forming in Luis's heart. "And in those moments, you must remember, like water, you will always find your way, even if it's not the path you imagined." Luis closed his eyes, letting those words sink deep into his spirit. The wisdom of the old man wasn't just heard, it was felt. He understood now that true strength didn't lie in standing firm against the current, but in learning how to move with it. Life, like water, was wild, unpredictable, and full of unknowns, but it was also rich with potential. If he could learn to flow with it, to move without force, without clinging, without fear, then perhaps he could find peace, even when life grew difficult. The sound of the creek played on, soft and unwavering, like the gentle pulse of nature itself. Luis opened his eyes and looked at Don Esteban, his gaze filled with quiet gratitude and newfound respect. He didn't need grand words to express what he felt. A simple, heartfelt thank you was enough. Don Esteban nodded, his expression calm and knowing. He could see that Luis had finally grasped the last lesson. Without another word, they rose from the wooden bench and began walking back to the cabin. The day was drawing to a close, the sun slowly retreating behind the trees, but for Luis, what he had learned that day would remain with him always. He had come to understand how to drink water, but more than that, he had learned how to truly live. To live with awareness, with deep appreciation, and most importantly, with the ability to move through life like water. Not clinging, not resisting, simply flowing. The sound of the stream stayed with him, not just in his ears, but in his heart, a constant reminder that would echo through every step of his journey. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps YouTube recognize that content like this truly makes a difference, and it allows us to continue creating more videos that inspire, uplift, and guide people just like you. Imagine for a moment that your entire life, every setback, every hardship, wasn't a detour, but a deliberate path leading you towards something greater. Now, I get it. That might sound like one of those motivational phrases you scroll past without a second thought. But what if I told you it wasn't just a feel-good slogan, but a core truth embedded in an ancient philosophy that has endured through centuries? I'm talking about Stoicism, a way of life that doesn't merely help us endure pain or hardship, but invites us to welcome it, to mold it into the very foundation of our strength. Today, we're diving into the soul of Stoicism to explore how this age-old wisdom isn't just a source of comfort in dark times, but a practical guide to living each day with meaning, resilience, and purpose. Whether you're dealing with personal turmoil, career hurdles, or the endless noise of everyday chaos, Stoic teachings offer more than survival tactics. They offer a philosophy for thriving. They show us that the secret to a fulfilling life doesn't lie in changing what's around us, but in mastering how we respond to it. So if you've ever felt like you're swimming against the current, if you've ever wondered how to remain grounded in the midst of life's storms, or if you're simply curious about how the ancient can transform the modern, you're exactly where you need to be. Join me on this path as we unlock the power of Stoicism, discovering how to turn life's obstacles into the very fuel that drives our evolution. And while we embark on this shared journey, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. Every part of this exploration is designed to uplift and transform, and you won't want to miss a single second of it. Have you ever realized you're settling for less than you're capable of? Many of us drift through our days, weeks, even years without questioning the invisible limits we've placed on ourselves. This is where one deceptively simple yet profoundly powerful question comes into play. Why not? At first glance, it seems basic, but this question has the potential to dismantle the fears and complacency that quietly confine us. Now, let's inject this with some Stoic insight. The Stoics didn't believe in waiting for life to happen to them. They were active participants, constantly examining their actions and motives through the lens of virtue and continuous self-improvement. When a Stoic encountered a challenge or a moment of decision, they asked themselves, why not choose the path that promotes growth? This wasn't about being reckless. It was about making thoughtful, intentional decisions that align with who they were and who they were striving to become. So the next time you stand at a crossroads, uncertain or hesitant, challenge yourself. Why not pursue that goal? Why not take the risk? Why not believe in yourself and move toward your vision? It's in those decisive moments that the trajectory of our lives begins to shift. But this question isn't just about confronting external roadblocks. It also forces us to face the internal voices that whisper doubts and promote safety over progress. It challenges the fear of failure, the comfort of routine, and the lies we tell ourselves about what we can or can't do. It's a wake-up call to rise above mediocrity and claim the extraordinary potential that lies dormant within us. Think of every Stoic figure you've read about. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca. They weren't seeking comfort. They embraced struggle as a vehicle for becoming stronger, wiser, and more virtuous. That's what you do when you ask, why not? You step into life with intention. You commit to growth. You move forward with courage. So next time you hesitate, remember that the power to rewrite your story is already in your hands. You are capable of exceeding your perceived limits. Adopt the Stoic perspective. Ask, why not? And watch as your inner curiosity, bravery, and dedication begin to reshape your life. In Stoicism, this drive for continual growth connects with the concept of prokopton, the idea that we are all works in progress. The Stoics weren't chasing flawlessness. They were dedicated to progress, steady, disciplined, and intentional progress. They focused on what they could control, their actions, their character, and how they chose to respond to life's inevitable fluctuations. They understood that meaningful progress lies at the heart of a fulfilling life. Whether it's honing a professional skill, deepening a meaningful relationship, or nurturing inner peace, growth is the foundation of everything that brings purpose. When you become obsessed with improvement, you align with one of Stoicism's highest virtues, self-mastery. You pursue excellence not for recognition, but because it's the purest expression of living in accordance with your values. But let's be clear, being obsessed with improving isn't about being ruthless or overly critical of yourself. It's about being compassionately committed to your evolution. It's about recognizing your progress, no matter how small, and celebrating it, while staying eager for the next step in your personal transformation. There will be setbacks, there will be failures, but to the Stoic, These aren't dead ends. They are powerful lessons, each one offering insight and depth to your journey. So how do you nurture this obsession with growth? Start by setting meaningful goals that echo your inner values. Reflect daily on your decisions and behaviors, checking if they align with the person you aspire to be. Welcome challenges not as threats, but as teachers. Stay open, curious, and always ready to learn, refine, and adapt. The journey never ends. There's always another level of depth, another virtue to embody, another skill to master. In this endless pursuit lies true satisfaction. So let's embrace this passion for growth, not as a destination, but as a lifestyle. As we walk this path together, let's uplift each other, aiming ever higher, living each day with purpose, courage, and an unstoppable desire to evolve. The Stoics are celebrated for their resilience, their unwavering resolve, and their deep dedication to living a principled life. When they committed to something, they poured their entire soul into it. Not for praise or applause, but because they knew that this total engagement, this giving everything they had, was what gave their actions meaning. They didn't half-heartedly approach their lives. They gave it their all, understanding that the true value of effort lies not in the result, but in the wholehearted intention behind it. Giving it your all means devoting your energy, attention, and heart to whatever you're doing. It means waking up each day and choosing to live with direction and clarity, rather than drifting through the motions. It means not just dreaming about a better life, but making bold moves that bring it into being, even when uncertainty looms. But this idea of giving your all isn't only about outward action. It's about the way you carry yourself in everything you do. It's about showing up with sincerity and integrity in your work, your relationships, and your personal journey. It's about being fully present, deeply engaged, and intentional with how you live your life. And when the road gets tough, as it inevitably will, it's about standing firm in the face of adversity, drawing from your inner strength to keep going. So how do you live this principle? Begin by getting crystal clear on what truly matters to you. Identify your deepest values, your most important goals, and the passions that light you up. Then, commit to them with all your being. Hold yourself to a high standard, not because you feel pressured to, but because you want to live in alignment with your truest self. Understand that giving it your all isn't a one-time push. It's a daily commitment, a way of being. And as you live this way, you'll find yourself not only advancing toward your goals, but also experiencing a richer, deeper sense of meaning along the way. Let's walk this path together, motivating each other to show up fully, to live with fire and intention, and to create lives that echo with virtue, excellence, and enduring purpose. Because in the end, what truly matters is not just what we achieve, but who we become through it all. We live in a world overflowing with distractions, temptations, and reasons to stray from our chosen path. But real transformation happens when you decide to stay committed, despite the noise. When you remain grounded in your values and your journey, you take a stand for something higher. You honor your truth, your direction, and most importantly, your inner self. The Stoics understood the chaotic nature of life. They knew how easy it was to veer off course. But they also recognized the immense power of remaining faithful to your principles. For them, staying on the path wasn't just a matter of achieving goals. It was a reflection of character, of integrity. So what does staying on your path look like for you? It means getting clear on your purpose, knowing what you value, what you're working toward, and what kind of person you are becoming. It means fixing your eyes on your internal North Star and letting it guide you through life's storms. But, and this is vital, staying the course doesn't mean becoming rigid or unmoving. Life is fluid, unpredictable. True commitment to your path includes the wisdom to adapt. It's about learning, adjusting, and evolving in a way that remains true to your core. Your flexibility must be rooted in your values, not swayed by external pressures or distractions. How can you ensure you're still aligned with your path? Start by cultivating self-awareness. Reflect often. Write down your vision and your values. Use them as your compass. Build the discipline to make aligned choices, even when they're hard. And when you encounter setbacks, don't see them as reasons to quit. See them as the very moments that test and strengthen your resolve. We're taught to focus on results, to chase the prize. But Stoicism offers us a liberating truth, that there's immense peace and power in detaching from outcomes. This shift in mindset allows us to focus on what we can control, our effort, our virtue, our commitment to the process. It's a way of living that brings true freedom, and it's where the real magic begins. The Stoics remind us that some aspects of life are within our control, while others are not. What we can govern are our choices, our intentions, our efforts, and our mindset. But the results of those efforts often depend on external factors that we simply can't influence. When we become overly attached to outcomes, we open ourselves up to disappointment, frustration, and even despair, because we're grasping at something beyond our reach. So what does it actually mean to take the focus off the results? It means committing yourself completely to whatever you're doing, whether it's a work assignment, a personal ambition, or a meaningful relationship, and doing it wholeheartedly. It's about immersing yourself in the process, tackling its challenges, and embracing the lessons it offers, without becoming emotionally tethered to how things turn out. Think about the freedom that comes from engaging in your work with passion and care, not for the sake of rewards, applause, or external success, but because you genuinely believe in what you're doing. That's the core of Stoic wisdom, discovering fulfillment and meaning in your actions themselves, not merely in their consequences. Now, that doesn't mean you should stop caring about success or abandon your goals. Rather, it invites you to redefine what success actually means. It's about evaluating yourself by your actions and your character. Did you conduct yourself with integrity, courage, and perseverance? Did you grow through the experience? In the Stoic philosophy, these are the true indicators of a successful life. To adopt this mindset in your everyday life, start by revisiting your core values and identifying the person you aspire to be. Let these values guide your goals, focusing more on who you're becoming and what you're doing, rather than what you're hoping to receive in return. When you start feeling anxious or fixated on outcomes, gently remind yourself of what's within your control, your mindset and your actions, and redirect your energy back to those. Picture your life as a mirror that reflects not only what you present to the world, but also the essence of who you are on the inside. If your inner world is full of fear, negativity, or resentment, those elements will inevitably color your experiences and relationships. On the other hand, if you foster virtues like kindness, strength, and honesty, those qualities will naturally radiate outward, drawing in more positivity and connection. The Stoics emphasized building a strong inner character because they understood this was the true cornerstone of a meaningful life. While you may not have power over external events, you always have the power to choose the person you want to be in response to those events. By dedicating yourself to being your best self, your life will begin to reflect those same qualities. But how do you bring this idea of becoming what you want to attract into your daily habits? Begin by engaging in thoughtful self-reflection. Observe your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions with honesty and compassion. Recognize where you have room to grow and intentionally work on cultivating the virtues that resonate with you, be it bravery during tough times, persistence in chasing your dreams, or empathy toward others. This journey isn't about perfection or pretending you don't stumble. It's about becoming deeply aware of your internal world and aligning it with your values. It's also about the willingness to keep growing, especially when things get hard. And when you make mistakes, as everyone does, it's about having the humility to learn and the strength to continue improving. Embracing this Stoic teaching gives you the power to shape your own reality. While you can't dictate what happens to you, you have immense influence over how you respond. As you align your inner world with your highest ideals, you'll find that the outer world begins to reflect that same harmony and depth. Now think back on the challenges you've encountered in your life. We've all had them, some minor annoyances, others life-altering hardships. The natural reaction might be to feel discouraged, frustrated, or even hopeless. But what if you could see those obstacles differently, not as roadblocks, but as opportunities in disguise? This is a central insight in Stoic thought. The Stoics didn't deny the reality of suffering. They acknowledged that life can be painful and difficult. Yet they also believed that within every hardship lies a chance for growth, a lesson that can lead to something greater. The way we react to obstacles shapes our experience far more than the obstacles themselves. By choosing to view each challenge as a chance to learn and grow, we move from being passive victims of circumstance to becoming proactive agents of transformation. So how can you bring this belief into your everyday life? Start by changing how you look at problems. When something difficult arises, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How is this shaping me into a better version of myself? Rather than letting setbacks drain you, let them be the fuel that builds your strength, creativity, and resilience. Understand that the most worthwhile achievements often come from the hardest climbs. The struggles you endure, the roadblocks you overcome, and the perseverance you build are all part of your personal evolution. Every difficulty is a chance to practice patience, bravery, and adaptability, qualities that shape you into a deeper, wiser human being. And remember, facing challenges often calls for new ways of thinking. It's in those tough times that you're pushed to break your limits, to think differently, and to uncover strengths you didn't even know you had. When you adopt the Stoic view of obstacles, you also begin to feel a deep sense of gratitude for the growth they bring, for the strength they reveal, and for the clarity they offer. You start to cherish the journey itself, knowing that the most meaningful insights often arise from adversity. In the grand scheme of life, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Your dreams may seem too big and your problems too complicated. You might wonder, what difference can my small actions possibly make? But here's the truth. Every great achievement is made up of countless small efforts. Every monumental change is built from tiny, consistent steps. The Stoics taught that while we don't control the final outcome, we always control the present moment, our choices, our actions, our attitude. They encouraged us to live with purpose, to take meaningful steps, no matter how small, and to focus on what is right in front of us. Do what little you can is not a call to mediocrity. It's a call to live intentionally, to participate fully in life, no matter how modest your contribution may appear. So, how can you live this out? Begin by breaking your bigger goals into smaller, manageable tasks. Concentrate on what you can do today, even if it's just a tiny step forward. Progress isn't about taking huge leaps. It's about staying consistent, showing up, and building momentum through persistence. Each small action is like a brick, forming the foundation for your larger dreams. This Stoic mindset also teaches us to find fulfillment in the process, not just the prize. When you're focused on doing your part well, no matter how insignificant it may seem, you naturally become more present, more engaged, and ultimately more effective. You begin to value the journey itself, its ups and downs, its pauses and pushes, because you know that real growth and satisfaction come from the effort you put in each day. Adopting this attitude also builds humility and strength. It helps you accept your limitations while still affirming your ability to make a difference. You become more flexible, more resourceful, and more determined, even when the results aren't immediate or obvious. In a society where success is often equated with wealth, titles, or online popularity, it's easy to lose your sense of what truly matters. But imagine stepping back and reconsidering how you define success altogether. The Stoics invite us to do just that. They argue that real success has nothing to do with possessions or public praise. Instead, it's about developing a character rooted in virtue, living in harmony with nature, and embracing your role as a human being with honesty and integrity. In this view, success isn't about winning in the eyes of the world. It's about being just, courageous, wise, and true to yourself, no matter your external situation. It's about living a life of purpose and principle, and that, according to the Stoics, is the highest achievement of all. This mindset is incredibly liberating because it shifts the power back to us. While we may not be able to influence the economy, job market, or the opinions of others, we always retain control over our own values and decisions. So how do we begin reshaping our understanding of success? It starts with self-reflection. Take the time to explore what you genuinely care about and the kind of person you aspire to be. Think about the traits you respect in others and make a conscious effort to develop those traits within yourself. Set goals that align with your values and emphasize personal growth and the positive impact you can have on others. Changing how we define success also involves appreciating the journey, not just the destination. Learn to celebrate your efforts, perseverance, and small victories, even if they don't lead to immediate results. Remember, according to Stoic philosophy, real success is just as much about how you handle obstacles and hardships as it is about reaching your objectives. It's about staying grounded in your principles and maintaining inner peace no matter what's happening around you. Redefining success in this way can also bring deeper fulfillment and joy. When you stop chasing validation from the outside world, you free yourself to focus on what truly brings you peace and satisfaction. You may find that a life rooted in virtue and meaningful action is far more rewarding than one built on outward accomplishments alone. In today's culture, where approval from others is often mistaken for success, it's easy to forget who we are and what truly drives us. We get caught up in seeking validation, trying to be liked, admired, or accepted. But Stoicism offers a powerful remedy for this outward focus. It teaches that our worth and our decisions should be grounded in our internal values and virtues. not in the constantly shifting opinions of the crowd. The Stoics warn us that constantly seeking approval can become a form of bondage. When we tie our sense of self to how others perceive us, we give away our freedom. We start adjusting our actions and self-worth based on their reactions. But once we release ourselves from this need for approval, we discover a deep sense of freedom and authenticity. We begin living in accordance with our true values, doing what we know is right and meaningful, regardless of whether it earns us recognition or applause. So how do we begin to separate our actions from the desire to be liked? It begins with self-awareness. We must look inward and ask ourselves why we do what we do, whether we're acting out of genuine conviction or out of a need to please others. This level of introspection isn't always easy, but it's essential for living authentically. Next, we must develop confidence in our own decisions and reasoning. The Stoics emphasize that wisdom and rational thought should guide our actions. When we make choices based on reason and moral clarity, we become less reliant on others' opinions. We can stand firm in our decisions even when they're unpopular or misunderstood, because we know they're rooted in what we believe to be right. We also need to accept that not everyone will like us, and that's perfectly okay. In fact, it's normal. Every person has their own beliefs, preferences, and experiences. It's impossible to please everyone, and trying to do so would mean constantly bending ourselves to fit into other people's molds, losing our own identity in the process. Instead, we should focus on being real and consistent with who we are. When we live authentically, we attract people who truly respect us and share our values. And even when we encounter rejection or criticism, we can take comfort in the knowledge that we're staying true to ourselves and living according to our Stoic ideals. In a world that constantly pulls at our time, attention, and energy, learning to say no is an essential skill. It's not just about turning things down, it's about standing firm in our priorities, protecting our values, and honoring our personal boundaries. Stoic wisdom teaches us to concentrate on what truly matters and what we can control. Sometimes that means declining invitations, opportunities, or demands that don't align with our deeper purpose. The Stoics believed in living in harmony with nature, which includes recognizing and respecting our own limitations. They understood that our time and energy are limited, and we must be wise in how we spend them. Saying no, then, becomes a practice in discernment, a way to ensure that we're investing ourselves in what is truly worthwhile, rather than being swept along by what's simply urgent or expected. But let's be honest, saying no is hard. It takes courage, especially when we're used to pleasing others or afraid of missing out. Still, the Stoic path encourages us to make choices based on virtue and rational thought, not fear or pressure. When we say no with quiet conviction, we're not just refusing something, we're affirming our values and our authenticity. So how can we improve our ability to say no? It starts with having a clear understanding of what truly matters to us, what we believe in, what we want to accomplish, and how we want to live. When you know your purpose and your priorities, it becomes much easier to recognize which demands support your journey and which distract from it. Saying no doesn't have to be rude or confrontational. It can be expressed with kindness and gratitude while still being firm. And as we get more comfortable with saying no, we'll experience a newfound freedom. We'll shed obligations that don't serve us and create space for the things that truly do. We'll grow in self-respect, honoring our own needs and boundaries, and others will notice this clarity and strength, often responding with respect for our integrity. Now, how does one truly let go with indifference? It's about learning to deeply understand and accept the difference between what's in our control and what isn't. We can control our efforts, our mindset, and our character, but we can't control how things turn out, what others do, or what fate has in store. Once we internalize this truth, we begin to let go of frustration, worry, and disappointment that stem from clinging to things beyond our reach. But letting go with indifference doesn't mean becoming apathetic or uncaring. It means caring wisely, focusing our attention and energy on what genuinely belongs to us, and calmly accepting everything else. It's about giving our best to the present moment and detaching from the outcome. Imagine how much lighter life would feel if you stopped obsessing over every missed opportunity or unexpected setback. What if you could resist being pulled into every bit of drama that has nothing to do with your core values or responsibilities? That's the peace that Stoicism offers, a deep, steady sense of resilience and balance, no matter what storms life may bring. To develop this mindset, we must begin with mindfulness. Pay attention to your reactions. Practice gently reminding yourself of what you can and cannot control. Like any valuable skill, this takes time and repetition. Start with the small frustrations of daily life and gradually work your way up to greater challenges. And as you practice, you'll notice something extraordinary. The less you try to control what's out of your hands, the more mastery you gain over your own mind and responses. You'll find a stillness inside you that remains untouched by chaos, a quiet strength that allows you to stay composed and focused, even when life becomes unpredictable. As we move forward on this path, guided by the teachings of Stoicism, we come to understand that our true power doesn't come from external circumstances. It resides within us. It lives in our capacity to choose our responses, to center our attention on what genuinely holds value, and to release our attachments with grace and acceptance. Always remember, the journey to inner peace and lasting fulfillment doesn't lie in chasing recognition, achievements, or material wealth. It is found instead in nurturing our character, in building resilience, and in developing a profound sense of serenity within ourselves. Thank you for walking alongside me on this path today, for being a meaningful part of this Stoic journal. I invite you to keep growing, keep exploring, and keep diving deeper into this ancient yet timeless wisdom by watching one of the recommended videos now appearing on your screen. Together, we continue to evolve, becoming stronger, wiser, and more firmly rooted in the values that lead us toward a life rich in purpose and authenticity. We're about to explore 7 habits that completely transformed my life in just 1 week. Yes, you read that correctly. 1 week. I know it sounds almost unbelievable, but trust me, these aren't the typical tips you hear all the time. These are real, honest habits that I personally incorporated into my daily routine. I experienced the struggles, the breakthroughs, and the growth, and the change I underwent was nothing short of amazing. I'm excited to share these with you because they've made such a profound difference in my life, and I believe they can do the same for you. Whether you're aiming to boost your productivity, improve your mental health, or make a positive change in your daily life, these habits can help you get there. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Stick with me until the end, because these habits aren't just theoretical. They're practical steps that you can begin implementing today. I'll also share personal stories and insights from my own journey, giving you a candid look at how these habits worked for me. Let's get started. The first habit that truly changed my life was waking up early. Let's be real, I was never a morning person. My bed was my sanctuary, and I used to hit the snooze button far too many times. Mornings always felt rushed, and I often felt like I was starting my day off wrong. But I decided to try waking up early, and let me tell you, it was a game changer. I began setting my alarm for 5 a.m., and the first few days were tough. I dragged myself out of bed, feeling groggy and questioning whether this was worth it. But I pushed through, and by the third day, something incredible happened. I began to appreciate the peacefulness of the early morning hours. There was something almost magical about being up before the rest of the world, when everything was still and calm. With those extra hours in the morning, I had time for things I'd never been able to fit into my day before. I started with some light exercise, nothing intense, just stretching or a short jog around the neighborhood. This helped wake me up and energized me for the rest of the day. I also took time to meditate and set my intentions for the day. These few moments of mindfulness had a huge impact on my overall mindset and productivity. An unexpected benefit of waking up early was that I no longer felt rushed. I had plenty of time to enjoy a healthy breakfast, savor my coffee, and plan out my day. This calm, unrushed start set a positive tone for the entire day. I felt more organized, less stressed, and had a greater sense of control over my time. One memory that stands out was the morning I watched the sunrise from my balcony. It was such a simple moment, but deeply beautiful. As the sky changed colors and the world slowly came to life, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and peace. It was in that moment that I truly understood the power of waking up early. I encourage you to give it a try, even if it's just for a week. Start by waking up just 15 minutes earlier than usual and gradually increase that time. You might be surprised by how much of a positive impact it can have on your life. It's not just about gaining extra hours in the day, it's about using those hours to create a more mindful, intentional, and fulfilling start to your day. Speaking of daily habits, daily exercise was habit number 2 that truly transformed my life. Let me be upfront. I wasn't always the most active person. I used to find every excuse in the book to avoid working out. I'm too tired, I don't have time, or I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? But one day, I decided that enough was enough. I made a commitment to move my body every single day for a week, and the results were incredible. I started small, just 20 minutes a day, mixing up yoga, jogging, and strength training. I wanted to keep things interesting so I wouldn't get bored and quit halfway through. The first few days were tough. My muscles were sore, and I felt exhausted, but I reminded myself why I was doing this, to feel better both physically and mentally. By the 4th day, something amazing happened. I woke up feeling more energized. My mood had improved drastically. I was less irritable and much more positive. I realized that those 20 minutes of exercise weren't just about burning calories or building muscle. They were about giving myself time to focus on me, to release stress, and to boost my endorphins. One morning, I remember lacing up my sneakers for a jog. It was a crisp, clear day, and as I ran, I felt a sense of freedom and clarity that I hadn't experienced in a long time. It was just me, the open road, and my thoughts. That connection to myself and the world around me was truly empowering. I also started to see physical changes. My posture improved, I felt stronger, and I noticed a difference in my overall fitness. But the biggest change was in my mindset. Exercise became my time to disconnect from the world and reconnect with myself. It became a form of self-care rather than a chore. Another personal highlight was trying yoga for the first time. At first, I was hesitant, thinking I wasn't flexible enough or that it wouldn't be a real workout. But after a few sessions, I fell in love with it. Yoga taught me to be present, to breathe deeply, and to listen to my body. It was a transformative experience that went beyond just physical benefits. Incorporating daily exercise into my routine made me realize that taking care of my body directly impacted my mental health and overall happiness. It's not about being perfect or pushing yourself to extremes. It's about finding a form of movement that you enjoy and making it a regular part of your life. So if you're like I was, struggling to get started, my advice is to begin small. Find something you enjoy, whether it's dancing, hiking, or just going for a brisk walk. Commit to just a few minutes a day and gradually build up from there. Trust me, the benefits you'll experience will be well worth the effort. Exercise is a habit that can transform not just your body, but your entire outlook on life. Habit number 3 is journaling. Now, I used to think journaling was just for people who had loads of free time or were naturally introspective. I was skeptical. I mean, who has time to sit down and write about their day when there's so much going on? But after just 1 week of consistent journaling, my perspective completely shifted, and it became a cornerstone of my personal growth journey. I started simple. Every night before bed, I dedicated just 10 minutes to journaling. I bought a plain notebook and a pen that felt comfortable in my hand. No fancy apps, no pressure to make it look pretty, just me and my thoughts. The first night I sat down to write, I didn't know where to begin. But as I kept writing, I found that I was not only reflecting on my day, but also gaining insights into myself, my thoughts, and my emotions. It became an important practice that helped me process my day, focus on gratitude, and set intentions for the future. The first night, I stared at the blank page, unsure of what to write. But then, I began with something basic: how my day went, what made me happy, and what I struggled with. As the days passed, I began to dive deeper. I wrote about my goals, my fears, my dreams, and even my insecurities. It felt like having a conversation with myself, and that's when the magic happened. I started to notice patterns in my thoughts and behaviors. I realized that some of the things I worried about were completely out of my control, while others were areas where I could take actionable steps. One night, I wrote about a particularly stressful day at work. By putting my thoughts on paper, I was able to process my emotions better. I wrote about what specifically stressed me out, how it made me feel, and what I could do differently next time. This simple act of reflection helped me gain clarity and feel more in control of my emotions. Another powerful aspect of journaling was tracking my progress. I noted down small victories and milestones, no matter how minor they seemed. Looking back at these entries filled me with a sense of accomplishment and motivated me to keep pushing forward. For example, I wrote about a presentation I was nervous about and how I prepared for it. Seeing my preparation process and the positive outcome documented in my journal was incredibly encouraging. I also started a gratitude section in my journal. Every day, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for. This practice shifted my focus from what was lacking in my life to appreciating what I already had. It was a simple yet profound shift that brought more positivity into my daily life. One particularly memorable entry was about a random act of kindness I experienced. A stranger helped me when I was struggling with my grocery bags. Writing about this act of kindness not only made me feel grateful, but also inspired me to pay it forward. Through journaling, I discovered a lot about myself, my desires, my fears, my strengths, and my weaknesses. It became a form of therapy, a way to untangle the complex web of thoughts and emotions that we all carry around. It provided a safe space where I could be completely honest with myself without fear of judgment. If you've never tried journaling, I highly encourage you to start. Don't worry about writing perfectly or having profound thoughts. Just write whatever comes to mind. It could be a stream of consciousness, a recap of your day, or reflections on a specific event. Give yourself the freedom to express whatever you're feeling. You might be surprised at how much clarity and peace it brings into your life. Remember, it's not about what you write, it's about the process of writing itself. Next up, mindful eating. This was a big one for me because, like many people, I used to eat on the go, barely paying attention to what or how much I was consuming. My meals were often rushed and distracted, eaten while scrolling through my phone or working on my laptop. I didn't realize how much this was affecting my overall well-being until I decided to give mindful eating a try for 1 week. Mindful eating is all about paying full attention to the experience of eating and drinking, both inside and outside the body. It's about savoring each bite, noticing the flavors, textures, and even the sounds of your food. So, I made a commitment to eat all my meals mindfully. I started by setting the scene for my meals. I cleared my dining table, set a nice place for myself, and removed any distractions. No phone, no TV, no laptop. At first, it felt a bit strange to sit quietly with my meal, but it quickly became a calming ritual. I began each meal with a few deep breaths to center myself and bring my focus to the present moment. One of the first things I noticed was how much more I enjoyed my food. I took the time to really taste and appreciate each bite. Foods I had eaten hundreds of times before suddenly had new, delightful flavors and textures that I had never really noticed. For example, the crunch of fresh vegetables and the sweetness of ripe fruit became much more pronounced. It was like experiencing food in high definition. Another major change was how much more satisfied I felt after meals. By eating slowly and mindfully, I gave my body time to signal when it was full. This was a big shift for me, as I used to eat quickly and often ended up overeating. By paying attention to my hunger and fullness cues, I found that I naturally ate less and felt more satisfied. One memorable experience was with a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally, I would wolf it down without a second thought, but this time I took it slow, savoring the creamy texture and the subtle sweetness of the honey I drizzled on top. It became a moment of gratitude and mindfulness that set a positive tone for the rest of my day. I also started to notice how different foods made me feel. Heavier processed foods left me feeling sluggish and bloated, while fresh whole foods made me feel energized and light. This awareness led me to make healthier choices naturally, without feeling deprived or restricted. Another aspect of mindful eating is being aware of the emotional connections we have with food. I started to recognize when I was eating out of boredom, stress, or emotional comfort, rather than true hunger. This awareness was powerful. Instead of mindlessly snacking, I could address the underlying emotion. Maybe I needed a break, some relaxation, or a chat with a friend, rather than a bag of chips. There was one particular evening when I had a craving for something sweet after dinner. Instead of automatically reaching for dessert, I paused and asked myself if I was truly hungry or just seeking a reward after a long day. I realized I wasn't actually hungry and opted for a warm cup of herbal tea instead. It was a small victory that highlighted how powerful mindful eating can be. Incorporating mindful eating into my life was a transformative experience. It helped me develop a healthier relationship with food, improved my digestion, and even enhanced my overall sense of well-being. It's a habit I've continued beyond that initial week, and I can't recommend it enough. If you're interested in trying mindful eating, start with just one meal a day. Sit down without distractions, take a few deep breaths, and savor each bite. Pay attention to the flavors, textures, and how the food makes you feel. You might be surprised at how this simple practice can change your entire eating experience. It's a wonderful way to reconnect with your body and truly appreciate the nourishment that food provides. Now, habit 5, limiting screen time. This one was particularly challenging for me, and I suspect it might be for many of you as well. We live in a digital world, and it's so easy to get sucked into endless hours of scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or checking emails. I realized that all the screen time was taking a toll on my mental health, productivity, and even my sleep. So, I decided to set some boundaries and see what happened. First, I set a daily limit of 1 hour for non-work-related screen time. This meant no mindless scrolling through Instagram, no endless YouTube marathons, and no late-night TV binges. It was tough at first. I had become so accustomed to filling every spare moment with screens, but I knew I needed to make a change. The first thing I noticed was how much more time I had in my day. I hadn't realized how much of my time was being eaten up by screens until I consciously limited it. With those extra hours, I found myself rediscovering old hobbies and interests that I had neglected. I picked up a book I had been meaning to read, started doodling and drawing again, and even tried my hand at cooking new recipes. One evening, instead of watching TV after dinner, I decided to take a walk in the park. The fresh air, the sounds of nature, and the simple act of moving my body felt incredibly rejuvenating. It was a stark contrast to the usual screen-induced lethargy. That walk became a cherished part of my daily routine, something I looked forward to and enjoyed immensely. Another significant change was in my sleep quality. I used to take my phone to bed, scrolling through social media or watching videos until I felt sleepy. But this habit often left me feeling wired and restless, leading to poor sleep. By limiting screen time, especially before bed, I found it much easier to wind down and fall asleep. I started a bedtime routine that didn't involve screens, reading a physical book, meditating, or simply reflecting on my day. This change led to deeper, more restful sleep and made a huge difference in my overall energy levels. I also noticed improvements in my mental health. Without the constant barrage of news updates, social media comparisons, and digital distractions, I felt less anxious and more present. I was more focused during conversations, more attentive to the people around me, and more engaged in my daily activities. It was like a fog had lifted, allowing me to see and experience life more clearly. One particularly memorable day was when I spent an entire afternoon at a local cafe with just a notebook and a pen. I wrote down my thoughts, planned some goals, and even sketched a bit. It was such a peaceful and productive time, free from digital interruptions. I felt more connected to myself and my surroundings in a way that screens had never allowed. Of course, there were moments of temptation and slips along the way, but each time I noticed myself reaching for my phone out of habit, I gently reminded myself of the benefits I was experiencing and redirected my focus to something more fulfilling. Limiting screen time isn't about completely eliminating technology from your life. It's about creating a healthier balance and being more intentional with your time. If you're feeling overwhelmed or disconnected, I encourage you to try setting some screen time boundaries. Start small, maybe with an hour less each day, and gradually increase it. Use that extra time to reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, and the world around you. You might be surprised at how much richer and more fulfilling life can be when you step away from the screens and engage more with the real world. All right, everyone, that wraps up our journey through the 7 habits that dramatically changed my life in just 1 week. It's been an incredible experience, not just implementing these habits, but also sharing them with you. Each of these habits has the power to bring about significant positive changes, and I truly believe that if they worked for me, they can work for anyone. If any of these habits have inspired you, I encourage you to try them out for yourself. Start small, maybe with just 1 habit, and see how it feels. Adjust according to what suits your lifestyle and needs. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. It's progress. It's about making small, manageable changes that, over time, lead to substantial transformations. I'd love to hear about your experiences, so please drop a comment below sharing which habit you're thinking of adopting or any questions you might have about getting started. Your feedback and stories are what make this community so amazing and supportive. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. We have lots more insights and tips coming your way that you won't want to miss. Sharing this video with friends or family who might benefit from these habits could also make a huge difference in their lives. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, small changes lead to big results. Let's keep growing, keep evolving, and turn our everyday routines into powerful moments of self-improvement. See you in the next video. Stay awesome, everyone. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and particularly useful topic, especially for those entering advanced stages of life. We will explore the 13 things that you should avoid as you age, all from a Stoic perspective. The principles of Stoicism can help us live a fuller, more meaningful life, no matter our age. As we grow older, it's common to experience feelings of isolation and sadness. However, the Stoics believed that we can find peace and fulfillment by accepting what is beyond our control and focusing on our own actions and thoughts. In this video, we will examine 13 Stoic recommendations to help you maintain a calm mind and a positive spirit, even in the most difficult moments. Let's start with the first recommendation. Do not isolate yourself. As we age, it's easy to feel like we no longer fit in or that our social skills have diminished. This can lead to a temptation to isolate ourselves from the world around us. However, isolation can result in deep feelings of loneliness and even depression. It's not about being surrounded by people all the time, but rather about maintaining meaningful connections that nourish us emotionally. Why is it so important not to isolate yourself? Staying connected with others provides us with a sense of purpose and belonging. Engaging with friends, family, or even participating in community activities can give us a reason to get up each day. Additionally, sharing our experiences and listening to others offers new perspectives that can help us view our own lives differently. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we cannot control while taking action in areas where we have influence. One thing we can control is our decision to connect with others. If you feel lonely, consider joining a local group, taking a class, or simply calling a friend. Sometimes a small step can make a huge difference, so remember not to isolate yourself. maintain those connections, and find ways to engage with the world. Doing so will not only help you combat loneliness and depression, but will also enrich your life. Next, let's move on to the second recommendation. Do not obsess over the past. It's natural to reflect on our lives, our achievements, and our mistakes as we age. However, dwelling on the past can trap us emotionally, preventing us from fully embracing the present and looking forward to the future. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Roman emperors and a great Stoic philosopher, reminded us that a man's true worth is revealed during times of crisis. This teaches us that it's not our past actions, whether they were successes or failures, that define us, but how we handle the present. The past is beyond our control, but the present is what we have the power to shape. Why is it so important not to dwell on the past? When we focus too much on what has already occurred, we risk missing out on the opportunities of today. We can fall into the trap of nostalgia or regret, both of which can lead to feelings of depression and anxiety. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to accept what has happened, learn from it, and move forward with wisdom and gratitude. Focusing on the present allows us to find joy in the simple pleasures of life, whether it's a conversation, a walk outside, or simply appreciating the gift of being alive. Every new day offers an opportunity to live according to our values, improve ourselves, and make a positive impact on others. So, the next time you catch yourself revisiting past moments, pause and take a deep breath. Remember, what truly matters is what you do in this very moment. Use the past as a lesson, not as a prison. Now let's consider the third recommendation. Do not neglect your health. As we age, it can be easy to think that self-care is no longer a priority. However, the opposite is true. Maintaining good physical and mental health is essential for living a fulfilling and happy life. Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher, reminded us that life, if well lived, is long enough. This serves as a reminder to make the most of the time we have, and an important part of that is taking care of our bodies and minds. It's not about trying to reverse the effects of aging, but rather ensuring that each day we live is as healthy and full as possible. Why is it so important not to neglect your health? Our physical and mental well-being directly affects our quality of life. Staying active, eating well, and caring for our minds through practices like meditation or reading can help us enjoy life more fully. Good health enables us to continue pursuing our passions, connecting with others, and experiencing all the richness that life has to offer. By prioritizing our health, we not only improve our own lives, but also increase our ability to contribute positively to the world around us. Taking care of our health plays a crucial role in fighting off feelings of depression and loneliness, while also helping us feel good physically. The way we treat our bodies and minds significantly influences our emotional well-being. Stoicism reminds us to stay mindful of our actions and to make the best of what we have. This applies to how we care for our physical and mental health. Engaging in regular physical activity, choosing nutritious foods, and taking time to relax and recharge not only boost our overall well-being, but also help us sustain a positive outlook on life. So, don't overlook your health. Make it a daily habit to prioritize your well-being. This practice won't just make you feel better, but it will also allow you to enjoy the people and passions that bring meaning to your life. Let's move on to the fourth essential mindset. Never stop learning. It's a common misconception that learning is reserved for the young. In truth, Lifelong learning is essential for keeping the mind sharp and healthy at any age. Epictetus once said that there is only one path to happiness, and that is to stop worrying about things beyond our control. This wisdom applies perfectly to learning as well. Sometimes we convince ourselves that we're too old to learn something new, or that it's not worth the effort. However, what truly lies outside our control are things like other people's opinions or our internal doubts, not our ability to learn. Why is continued learning so important? It helps keep our minds engaged, slowing down cognitive decline and keeping us mentally youthful. Acquiring new knowledge also provides a sense of accomplishment and purpose, both of which are vital in combating loneliness and depression. Whether it's picking up a new language, learning to play a musical instrument, or simply diving into a subject that fascinates you, every bit of learning opens new doors and deepens our connection to the world around us. Stoic philosophy urges us to take initiative and actively shape our lives. Learning something new each day, no matter how small, keeps our curiosity alive and reaffirms our commitment to living fully. Curiosity is like a spark that can light up even our darkest moments, giving us something to look forward to each day. So don't let the learning stop. Find something that excites you and immerse yourself in it. Not only will this keep your mind vibrant, but it will also provide you with a continual source of joy and fulfillment. Let's continue with the fifth perspective. Don't resist change. As we grow older, it's easy to fall into the habit of clinging to what's familiar and avoiding what's new or unfamiliar. Yet, change is an inevitable part of life, and learning to accept it can become a powerful source of personal growth and satisfaction. Marcus Aurelius said that change is the only constant. This insight highlights that change is natural and unceasing, and fighting it only leads to unnecessary frustration and pain. Instead, we should strive to adapt and see each change as an opportunity for growth and learning. Why is accepting change so important? Embracing change helps us maintain a positive and flexible attitude. When we resist it, we often shut ourselves off from new opportunities that could enrich our lives. Resistance also tends to create stress and anxiety, whereas acceptance brings calm and balance. Stoicism teaches us to concentrate on what we can control and to let go of what we cannot. Change often falls into that uncontrollable category, but our response to it is entirely within our power. Rather than viewing change as a threat, we can choose to see it as a doorway to self-renewal and a chance to discover new aspects of who we are. So don't fear change. Welcome new experiences and opportunities as they come. Doing so will not only make you more adaptable and resilient, but will also lead to a life that is richer and more diverse. Now let's reflect on the sixth vital truth. Don't underestimate the power of gratitude. As time passes, it's easy to become preoccupied with what we've lost or what we lack, forgetting to notice and appreciate the blessings that still surround us. Seneca wisely said that it's not the person who has little, but the one who desires more, who is truly poor. This statement reminds us that true wealth and happiness come not from accumulating more, but from valuing what we already have. Gratitude teaches us to focus on the positives and to cherish the small, everyday gifts life offers. Why is practicing gratitude so transformative? Gratitude has the power to shift our perspective and dramatically enhance our mental and emotional health. When we focus on what we're thankful for, we begin to counteract negative emotions like sadness and depression. Moreover, gratitude strengthens our connections with others as we often feel thankful for the people in our lives. This feeling of appreciation can build deeper relationships and a greater sense of community and belonging. In essence, embracing gratitude helps us cultivate a mindset that recognizes the good in our lives, no matter our age or circumstances. It grounds us, lifts our spirits, and brings us back to what truly matters. So take time each day to reflect on what you're grateful for. Let this simple yet powerful practice fill your life with peace, perspective, and deeper joy. Stoicism encourages us to cherish these blessings without becoming overly attached to them, reminding us to appreciate rather than cling. This mindset teaches us to focus on what is within our control. Practicing gratitude regularly becomes a powerful tool for nurturing this attitude. Whether it's keeping a gratitude journal, expressing thankfulness to others, or simply taking a quiet moment each day to reflect on the good in our lives, this habit can significantly elevate our happiness and emotional well-being. Gratitude becomes a source of strength. So make it a daily practice and notice how it reshapes your outlook and brings deeper meaning to your life. Let go of grudges. That leads us to the seventh thing you should avoid as you grow older: holding on to resentment. Throughout life, conflicts and disagreements with others are inevitable. However, when we hold on to these grudges, we allow them to negatively impact our emotional and mental health. Epictetus once said, "If someone is able to provoke you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." This quote serves as a reminder that resentment and lingering anger are often constructed in our own minds, and that gives us the power to release them. Clinging to grudges only breeds unnecessary stress and places a heavy emotional burden on us. It robs us of mental peace and often creates barriers to enjoying our relationships and life in general. Forgiveness doesn't mean we forget or excuse someone's harmful behavior. It means freeing ourselves from the toxic emotions that weigh us down. Stoicism teaches us to release what is outside our control, and this includes the actions and decisions of others. By choosing forgiveness and letting go of bitterness, we give ourselves the gift of peace, creating space to focus on what truly matters. Shedding these negative feelings allows us to live with greater lightness and joy. So don't let grudges linger. Practice forgiveness, not just for others, but for your own inner peace and emotional freedom. Don't stop setting goals. This brings us to the eighth important thing to avoid in later life: losing your sense of direction by giving up on having goals. Sometimes reaching a certain age can lead us to believe that we've already accomplished everything significant. Yet, continuing to set goals, regardless of their size, infuses life with meaning and keeps us moving forward. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This highlights the importance of staying mentally engaged and cultivating positive focus. And one of the best ways to do that is by having goals. Setting goals offers us a sense of purpose and keeps us motivated. It helps us stay active, connected, and involved in life. Goals give us something to strive toward and look forward to. And every goal we achieve, no matter how small, brings a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. Stoicism teaches us to live with intention and make the most of each moment. Goals help us do just that by guiding our attention toward meaningful actions and making our time more constructive. These goals don't have to be grand. They can be as simple as learning a new skill, improving your health, or doing something kind for someone else. The key is to find something that excites you and gives you a reason to grow and learn. Having goals not only makes life richer, but also helps you maintain a proactive, positive attitude. So keep setting goals Let them inspire you to keep moving forward with purpose and joy. Don't neglect your hobbies. And now we come to the 9th thing you should avoid doing as you grow older: abandoning the interests and activities you love. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our hobbies no longer matter, or that we don't have time for them. But staying engaged with the things that bring us joy is essential to our well-being. Seneca once said, "Leisure without books is the death and burial of a living man." This quote powerfully emphasizes the importance of staying mentally and emotionally stimulated through the things we're passionate about. Our hobbies give us a chance to unwind, express ourselves, and simply enjoy life. They're not just sources of entertainment, they're sources of meaning and joy. Participating in activities that we love helps us manage stress, boost our mental health, and stay connected with our sense of identity and purpose. Furthermore, hobbies provide valuable opportunities to socialize and build connections with others who share our interests. Stoicism reminds us to seek balance and harmony in our lives, and hobbies play a key role in that. They allow us to experience happiness in the present moment without being consumed by regrets of the past or anxieties about the future. Whether it's gardening, painting, reading, listening to music, or any other activity that speaks to your soul, it's vital to make time for it. Nurturing your passions helps you maintain a rich, vibrant life, no matter your age. Don't neglect your hobbies or the things that light up your spirit. Make it a priority to set aside time for the activities that genuinely make you happy and give you the space to express yourself freely. Doing this doesn't just add color and richness to your life, it also helps you maintain a balanced and positive outlook. Now, let's move on to the 10th important principle. Do not ignore your emotions, especially as you age. It's easy to fall into the belief that growing older means we should become more emotionally stoic, in the common sense of the word, which often implies suppressing our feelings and appearing strong at all times. But this is a misconception. True Stoicism doesn't ask us to bury our emotions. Instead, it invites us to understand them and respond to them in a constructive, thoughtful way. Epictetus taught that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of those events. This simple yet profound idea reminds us that our emotions are responses to how we perceive life's moments, not direct reactions to the moments themselves. Suppressing emotions doesn't make them disappear, it only hides them temporarily. Over time, this emotional suppression can result in built-up stress, unease, and even internal chaos. That's why it's so crucial not to ignore how you feel. Recognizing and confronting your emotions is a fundamental step toward maintaining good mental and emotional health. It helps us process our inner world, learn from our experiences, and discover better ways to navigate life's challenges. On the other hand, denying or repressing emotions can lead to long-term health issues, both mentally and physically, such as anxiety or depression. Stoicism encourages us to become aware of our emotions, not to be ruled by them, but to manage them with wisdom and rationality. It means embracing our feelings as part of the human journey, while not letting them take the driver's seat. Our emotions, when acknowledged, become signals, valuable insights into our needs, our desires, and what truly matters to us. They guide us to make wiser, more informed decisions. So do not brush aside what you feel. Take the time to reflect on your emotions, explore why you feel the way you do, and give yourself the space to process it all. Whether by speaking with someone you trust or writing it out in a journal, Give yourself that emotional outlet. It's not just healthy, it's essential. Now, let's move on to the 11th thing you should never do as you grow older. Do not settle for mediocrity. At a certain point in life, we may be tempted to believe that it's too late to aim higher, or that we no longer have the energy or motivation to pursue excellence. But the truth is, holding ourselves to a higher standard and striving for excellence is what makes life fulfilling and meaningful. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is bearable, bear it and stop complaining." These words urge us to face challenges with resilience and a proactive attitude, rather than lowering our standards or giving up. Settling for mediocrity can become a dangerous habit. It breeds complacency and leaves us with an undercurrent of dissatisfaction that slowly erodes our sense of purpose. That's why it's vital not to lower your standards or stop reaching for more. Staying committed to excellence, even in small daily tasks, gives life a sense of direction and dignity. It reminds us that we are capable of growth, improvement, and rising above our own expectations. This doesn't mean you need to become a perfectionist. It simply means doing your best with what you have and refusing to become stagnant. Pursuing excellence in our efforts is also a deep source of confidence and self-worth. It teaches us to align our actions with our values and to seek virtue in all that we do. Refusing to accept mediocrity is a way of honoring yourself, of choosing to live with purpose rather than passivity. Whether it's your career, your relationships, or your everyday routines, always strive to bring your best self forward. Seek growth, welcome challenges, and aim to improve in whatever you commit to. Doing so will bring you a profound sense of accomplishment and allow you to live a life that feels meaningful and enriched. Now let's continue with the 12th and final insight. Do not stop cultivating your relationships. As time goes by, it can be easy to drift away from close connections, with friends, with family, with those who matter most. Yet maintaining and nurturing these relationships is vital for your emotional and mental well-being. The philosopher Seneca once said, "Friendship is always helpful, love is sometimes." This reflects how deeply valuable true friendships and human connections are. They are a consistent source of support, encouragement, and joy. In times of struggle, these relationships comfort us. In moments of happiness, they amplify our joy. Staying connected with others gives us a sense of belonging. It reminds us that we are not alone in this world, and that we have a place in the lives of others. Social interaction, even in its simplest form, has the power to ease loneliness, reduce feelings of depression, and even improve our overall health. Sharing our experiences with those we care about deepens our emotional lives and offers perspectives that we might not see on our own. Stoicism teaches us to value others, to be mindful in our interactions, and to treat relationships with intention and care. Maintaining healthy relationships takes effort. It requires time, attention, and sometimes vulnerability. But the rewards are immeasurable. Investing in these bonds, whether it's by staying in touch, spending quality time together, or being a source of support, strengthens the emotional fabric of our lives. So, don't let your relationships wither away. Nurture them. Reach out. Be present. In doing so, you create a circle of connection and care that nourishes both you and those around you. Therefore, don't neglect the importance of nurturing your relationships. Take time to reach out to old friends, reinforce family bonds, and welcome new people into your life. These relationships will not only enhance the richness of your everyday experiences, but will also serve as a valuable source of support during life's difficult moments. Let's continue with the 13th thing you should avoid doing as you grow older. Don't let yourself be consumed by what others might think of you. As we advance in age, it can become all too easy to get caught in the habit of worrying about how we are perceived by others. Yet this constant concern can become a barrier that stops us from living freely and authentically. Epictetus reminds us that worrying about future events does not lessen tomorrow's burdens. It only drains us of the strength we need to handle today. Though that insight is often applied to general anxiety, it fits perfectly when thinking about our preoccupation with others' opinions. This kind of worry saps our energy and hinders our ability to be our genuine selves. It is essential to recognize why letting go of this concern matters. Living in constant fear of judgment or striving to meet someone else's expectations can pull us away from our true path. It can lead to deep dissatisfaction and regret over the life we could have lived had we stayed true to our own values and desires. By releasing the need for external validation, we can begin to concentrate on what genuinely fulfills us. We can live with greater presence and joy, guided by our own convictions. Stoic philosophy teaches us to give our energy to what we can control, and the thoughts and judgments of others are beyond that boundary. What we can govern is our own behavior, our responses, and the principles we choose to live by. Being honest with ourselves and aligning our actions with our inner values brings a deeper and more lasting sense of contentment than trying to win the approval of others ever could. So, don't let yourself be weighed down by what others might think. Live in a way that honors your own truth and beliefs. This will allow you to move through life with greater authenticity and to find more joy in every experience you encounter.